time has come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than rev counters and a slice of cake. At first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act, but people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pascoe, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. Would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
You know that thing when you come on really early and the theme tune never seems long enough? And you thought, they fill until the beginning of the day. We haven't got that today because we're almost underway. Good morning, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Guerrilla Cricket. I'll tell you who's in as Broad bowls to Anaric Notia for the first time this morning. England need to grab one more wicket before they will be able to bat. 277 for 9. It was an enthralling day in Centurion yesterday under the blue skies of South Africa, I suppose, really. I'm Gorilla Hendo, by the way, and I'm joined this morning by John Batham on my right. Good morning.
Morning, Hendo.
And back. He's run up the hill. He's been running up the hill like Kate Bush. It is Roger Pineapple. In comes Broad. Bowls outside the off stump. Too wide and left alone by Notja. Through to the keeper. And there is no run. Just 84 miles an hour from Broad. Well, it was Sam Curran's day yesterday. Bowled really well, took 4 for 57, got a chance of a fiver for the first time in Test cricket. Should he get on? Will he in fact get on, or what do you think? Will England go with Archer at the other end, just try and blow Philander away? He's batted very well, 28 not out. He's an annoying character these days, very obdurate, plays a few good shots as well. It's a bit more humid today, although it does seem to be clearing. And they are going to give little Sammy Curran a chance to take his 5th wicket for the first time. And this is his jingle, if John can find him. He is on sort of an apprenticeship on the jingles. He's found him! Hey!
Is he a batter or bowler?
Sam Curran.
What's his distinguishing feature?
Sam Curran.
His nose runs in Broadway.
Sam Curran.
And he's beloved by Liz Yates.
Sam Curran.
Throws it up wide outside the off stump, and Philander tries to club that through the offside, but rather mistimes it, and it runs slowly up to mid-off. The good news for England is Ben Stokes is out there. He's going through a few exercises, and presumably we've been joined by a few of you on Twitter. We'll come to that very shortly. And well, let's just see. Did we? I guess we came off a bad light last night. Did we in the end, or because we were halfway through and over? It seems defended by Philander into the offside, but it'll give him a chance to come through for a single as the man from extra cover, Joe Denley, moves around to his left. Yeah, what happened last night? Did they come off a little early, or?
I think just because a wicket fell in what would have been the last over.
Ah, right.
Because they played
Yes.
the extra half hour.
Yep, I missed that last session, but it was touch and go, wasn't it? When Quinton de Kock was wielding his willow like a modern-day D'Artagnan, he was looked very good indeed. He was out for 95. Curran was the man who came back and got him. People talking about him coming of age, but I think Sam Curran came of age a while ago. Wide of the off stump, back of a length, left alone by Nortje, and there is no run.
Yeah, I agree. I've always been a big Sam Curran fan. I think he's proving the doubters wrong every time he slips on that shirt. And yes, he maybe needs a little assistance in the pitch, but a good zippy surface like yesterday, he will move the ball either way.
Yep.
He got right-handers and left-handers out. He got de Kock out when de Kock was really well set. So
Yep.
I think it's by far the pick of the bowlers and worthy of the cherry this morning.
He's in again, bowls, and a drive is aimed at that one by Nortje, but he makes no contact, rather playing away from his body, and through it goes to the keeper.
I think the problem with Curran is that people don't want to talk him up too much, because then he keeps getting left out the side, and so then you have to explain why you've left a bloke out the side that you've been talking up. That's the problem.
That's a fair point. Although I see that Mike Selby is not a big fan at all, is he? He's always criticising him, his selection on Twitter, I've noticed. But then maybe that's why Mike Selby's not wanted much these days. Anyway, that's harsh. Curran in bowls. A man's gone back at deep backward point. This is left alone outside the off stump, and through it goes to the keeper. Welcome to everyone on Crick Tracker. We'll come to you also at the end of the over on Twitter, and we'll remind you the GPL is open, and 57 quid could be yours. I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how now. Go to the website, guerrillacricket.com, go to competitions, estimate how many runs you think we scored in the day, put £1 on it or more. You can have more guesses, of course, more pounds you pay, and that adds to what's in the kitty at the moment. If you get it on the nose, you get the money. Curran then switches to round the wicket for the final ball of his over, his 20th over, and Nortje just adjusts his guard, just scratching it out with his right boot now. Probably gone across to middle from maybe middle and leg, or leg, as Curran is in and bowls, and he comes forward, defending that one into the ground. Up it pops towards Sibley at extra cover, and that is the end of the over. Who's joined us on the Twitter sphere and Crick Tracker this morning? I know there's too many things to do, Rod.
The first tweet of the action was from Greg Smith Says, who was amusing us yesterday. Hello, Greg. Greg had a lot of criticism for Quinton de Kock's knock, but I'm sure
Really?
perhaps early on he said it was a
okay.
bit too flighty,
Yes.
a bit ODI like, but he says anyway, it doesn't matter that England B, in illness riddled at 638 for 8 declared on day 3, will frame circa 300 runs into inadequacy. I think he's replying to a tweet now. Do we tweet while we commentate? That could be very confusing.
Yeah, no,
when people reply.
Yes. I've done that from time to time, and then I realise it's complete confusion for the person who's then actually reading tweets. So we probably shouldn't do that.
James Hummerstone says, good evening. Today you're keeping me company where data coverage allows on the drive from Canberra to Sydney.
I've done that drive.
Yeah, it's
you done the
pretty
drive?
hefty one. No.
Broad into Philander, who chops this one, a sort of cut off the front foot, and very effectively too, through gully and down to third man for one of these. Oh, it's not working. Try again. Oh, all sorts of problems with the fourth. Oh, here we go.
One, two, three.
Oh, we got it twice. It wasn't 8, but it was 4. Lovely shot from Philander, who's gone into the 30s now. And Well, if he can just add another 30 or so here with Notia, I think the South Africans will be very happy. 282 for 9. The 44th four of the innings. In comes Broad. That's a little bit straighter. He pushes it again wide of Denley at extra. There's a little gap there, and it's very well run for someone like Philander, who's not the quickest across the acreage, but he gets back for a second, and South Africa move to 284 for 9.
Mog is with us. Hello, Mog.
Hello,
Mog was very active yesterday as well. Mog, the heck with this silly little game. I learned today something truly shocking.
What is that?
Not only is Travis Head the Australian vice-captain, but he might also be getting groomed for the actual captaincy.
What?
Fuck,
What?
says Mog.
Uh,
He got 100.
Was that his first 100? I think it
His
might have
second
been.
was
Oh, his
his
second
second,
100, yeah. He's a good batsman, actually, I think. I noticed last night, while I was trying to get to sleep and get my 4 hours before coming back in here and feeding the cat on the way, as Broad comes in to bowl to Philander. And Philander may have edged that one, and he has indeed. And South Africa's innings comes to a close. I can tell you the story of my morning in a little while. Well, hang on. He's going to review that, so maybe it's not over yet.
We jumped the gun.
Just kind of looked out, didn't it? Looked out to me. We say that, but we're not sure. The decision has been reviewed. Chris Gaffney was
Which
the
I
umpire.
guess he would.
There was a big snick, says the bear. The bear heard the noise. Why? Don't play with us, Vernon. That's just silly. You're just taking time out of the game. Oh, could it be a no
hoping
ball?
for a no
No,
ball.
I think
No,
he's
I think
just
that's
about
all
right.
right.
Yeah, he's all right. So Brody will have denied poor little baby-faced assassin a fiver. That looks out, doesn't it? He's
He's looked
playing
behind
well
him
away.
immediately, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the giveaway. It's pouched by
That's
Butler.
as out can be, I think.
Yes,
Yep,
massive
indeed.
edge, huge edge. And so that was all a waste of time, wasn't it? And off
Utterly.
will they go. 284 all out. There we go. So just the 7 runs added. Just as I was saying that another 30 this morning would be quite handy. Vernon Philander is offers his wicket up, and that's that's cheered up the Barmy army a little bit. They're applauding England, and it's a 4th wicket for Brody as well. So well done for you, Brody.
He ends up with 4 for 58, the same as Sam Curran.
Ooh.
But Brody did it in fewer overs, so technically better figures, or although-
Technically, I suppose.
fewer maidens. How do you... Well, better strike rate, but fewer maidens, you see? How do you quantify?
That's a good, that's a good
Better,
point.
better strike rate, worse economy.
Well, they're letting Curran go, lead him off. Broad goes up behind him. What you should say, though, about Curran is that those are Test career best figures. He had best of 4 for 74 before that, but 4 for 58 in this innings. So well done to him. I do believe one or two people were saying, what's Sam Curran doing in the team? Well, that's what he's doing in the team, taking wickets for England.
It also means that his bowling average now dips below his batting average in tests, so he's a genuine all-rounder.
That's good. We like that. We like that very much. Right, let's see. Have we got lots of people on the tweets this morning? 'Cause we've plenty of time now to get through them at our leisure while we wait for England to reply.
Linux Leah,
Hello.
another loyal listener, says good morning
Good morrow.
to us and our South African friends.
Ah, they
Well,
actually got on
yes,
air because we heard that there may only be one person there this morning. So
Tell us, Leah, because she's not yet decided which service to listen to, so fight for my affection.
Blimey, what have we got to do? I don't know. Well, we haven't got Not Fred on, so that helps.
Ouch.
And we could send him out to South Africa, couldn't we? But
Well, he's on his way.
oh, he's on his way.
Next week, yeah.
Yes, he is going out to Cape Town. Although apparently it's sold out. Well, there you go. That'll cheer you up, Lennox, because the fact that Fred's going out to Cape Town, but he's got no tickets and it's sold out. Right, more tweets.
Yeah, Felix Stock at Flexmaster1984.
Ooh.
Hello, Felix says, hi team, sitting in the office and working, in
Office.
inverted commas.
Office.
England to bowl SA out quickly and then score 400 plus.
Wow. Well, you've got the first bit right.
England don't often get 400 plus in the first innings.
It's true.
Certainly not-
Hardly ever, in fact.
That's a very good point.
But
yes.
it's a good optimism from Felix.
Is that optimism or is that insanity? I'm not quite sure.
Oh, I've just watched. I've just thought of an interesting stat, actually, just to break off for a moment. Anderson took just the 1 wicket in this innings, and I was looking at his record at Centurion, and in both the other tests that he played at Centurion, he's taken 1 wicket in the first innings and then 3 or 4 in the second innings. So maybe Jimmy's going to come good in the second innings as well.
Yeah.
That said, he bowled pretty well, I thought. A little bit wide in his first spell, but when he got that in-swinger going, or the in-swinger to the right-hander, he looked pretty useful again.
And on the Crick Tracker, there are 1.3 thousand people tuned in.
Way! We love you all at Crick Tracker.
Checking
Hello.
out my sweaty appearance.
Indeed.
I'm going to name check some of you. Ranjit Kumar, Satar Syed says excellent. You're excellent, Satar. Umar Khan, Shazad Salim, hi. Tony Bishop is a top fan.
Tony Bishop, what's he doing in India?
Yasir Khan. Azi Rajput says the score. What's the score, Hendo?
The score is 284 all out. The heavy roller is on, and England will be replying in about 5 minutes' time.
Avdesh Kumar and Nobaraj Das, among many others. Hello to you all.
It's great to have
Thanks
you
for
along,
joining us.
and tell your friends and your enemies, indeed. Anyone who likes cricket, you don't have to be best mates with them, but if you know they do, fair enough. Is that all we got on the tweets? Then?
They're coming in.
Oh, right.
Jack Burway has just joined us in the last minute. Morning. I've woken up in time for the final wicket. I'm hoping for a long day of England's openers batting dull.
Oh,
Ooh.
I'm not really. When was the last time? When do you think was the last time? I know as England fans, we're saying all the time, we just want people who can stay in for a little while, and provide a foundation. But when was the last time you were excited by an England opening pair?
This was Jason Roy for the wrong reason.
Well, that's true.
I was
suppose
excited
that's-
as an Irishman to see him walking out at Lord's, that's for sure.
Yeah, fair point. But as a pair, can you think of a pair that excited you? I mean, you'd have to go back. I mean, Alistair Cook never excited you, did he, really? Strauss and another, perhaps?
But should openers be exciting? Openers should be
no,
just
they
filling
shouldn't.
you with...
No, you're absolutely right. But
Yeah.
it's kind of when you're thinking, when you look at that England team, I think, well, I want to see Stokes bat, I want to see Root bat. I'm not sure I want to watch Sibley and Burns for 3 hours. Although, the sort of more practical side of me does.
But isn't that part of our problem then?
It is, yes, and I admit that I am part of the problem because I want exciting openers at the same time as wanting solidity.
Well, yeah, and we rarely get both.
No, you can't have both. You can't have both.
That's,
Really.
that's the problem, isn't
But
it?
that was going to say, have we ever had both? And when was the last time we did have both? I can't really think.
Well, Alistair Cook I just enjoyed walking him out. It gave me a sense of solidity, security, and just
security. Yes.
his old dreamy bearing was just something that I wished to view on the
Well,
cricket
he
pitch.
was
He's
a
broad
beautiful
class.
looking man, wasn't he?
Yes, dignity.
Talking of which, I mean, I know that he shoots deer, doesn't he? Occasionally, has been known to. There was this thing about this lawyer yesterday clubbing a fox to death. What's that all about? You ever see that? That was pretty
Yeah,
strange.
Yeah,
he's-
that is bizarre.
In a kimono, don't forget that.
Oh,
was
even
it-
his
that-
kimono. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Skimpy kimono.
So what? So he was it something to do with he thought they were attacking chickens or something, and so he went out and beat it to death with a baseball bat, which is obviously the thing you think of doing when you see a fox in your garden.
I would have preferred him to take the Evelyn Wall route. What is it? Vile Bodies, the beginning of Vile Bodies, where all the undergrads are stoning foxes with bottles of Bollinger. No, that would have been the way to do it.
Well, I mean, considering that you may have noticed that we put out some really lovely pictures of the back garden here in Sydenham, southeast London, of two little foxes sitting together, having a little snooze, and a very beautiful picture it made. I think it was Tony who took that. It doesn't really rank with the notion of beating a poor thing to death with
I think it was caught in the chicken wire. His defence was, and he is a QC. So,
his defence.
yeah. Was that it was caught in the chicken wire and it was on its way out anyway, and he said there was no RSPCA person going to call out to central London on Christmas Day or Boxing Day, so he took it into his own hands and gave
gotta be pretty
it a damn good thrashing.
You've got to be pretty hard-hearted, haven't you, to do?
Sounds like a man searching for an excuse to me. He might need a defence, I think.
Yes, indeed.
Will
Let's hope he leads his own defence and fails. That would be fun.
Will he turn out to be a member of the fox hunting brigade?
Well.
Probably.
Yeah, could be. Bloodthirsty bunch. Anyway, back to the tweets.
Yes, Chris Drew at Mesnelman, who I believe is a big Glamorgan fan. In terms of choosing between us and Gorilla SA, he said, as the line goes in Highlander, there can be only one.
Hopefully that's us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mog is saying hello to the Crick Tracker folks. That's nice cross-media work from Mog.
Yes, I like that.
Evil Scooters talking about Travis Head says the first South Australia batsman to score a century at the MCG in my lifetime, though.
Wow.
Which does say an awful lot about South Australia's batting stocks over the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
That reminds me of what I was going to say just before Philander was out, which was watching a bit of Travis Head last night. He played one absolutely glorious straight drive off the back foot. I think it was off Trent Bolt. It was absolutely beautiful because it's not easy to play a drive off the back foot straight for 4. That takes quite a bit of leverage. But he let the ball come in so late. I don't know if you saw it.
I did. I saw it didn't. It went for 3. I think it didn't actually go for.
Did it go for, I thought
I
it
think
went for 4.
the one I'm thinking of, but perhaps he played a couple of them.
But it was an absolutely beautiful shot. He played it so late, let it come right underneath, almost his armpit when he played it. It was glorious.
Yeah, off Southie, I think, round the wicket.
Maybe it was Southie round the wicket. Yeah. I think you could be right. Yep.
Over there's some highlights of Australia collapsing to Big Vern. Which
yes.
Sent shockwaves through the England sheds.
Now that was a good one. Who left that and got bowled? There were some pretty rank shots there, by the looks of it, to be fair. Now we're seeing India suffering in similar vein. Vernon Philander, of course, is he's a lovely bowler, isn't he? Averages 22. If he'd been fit, you feel like he would have gone on and taken a lot more wickets, don't you?
Oh, a shed load.
Look at that, 177 wickets since 2010, average of 20.24. He's up there above the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, above Kagiso Rabada, not by much. Dale Steyn, Pat Cummins. Why have they got James Pattinson in there with an average of 87.27?
Those were stats and wickets taken in Australia, South Africa and New Zealand.
Ah, right, okay. So we're talking Kookaburra ball wickets.
Yeah, precisely.
Ah, okay. Fair enough. Sorry, back to the tweets again. Any more people getting in touch?
Nick Martin.
Hello, Nick.
And he just starts up a hashtag GCSA versus VGC ING.
How's it going? Maybe we should do a poll. Should we do a poll? Do you prefer GCSA, or some other unnamed service?
I don't think we want to be stoking divisions though in today's.
Not
at Christmas. No, with peace and goodwill to all men. No.
Christmas is over now, though, isn't it?
No, not for the next. That's what people forget. 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, fair enough.
It's my favourite time of Christmas, but enough of all that shopping nonsense that builds up to it.
And now we're just getting down to serious drinking.
Yeah, serious drinking and sitting in all day watching sport.
Yay! What could be wrong with that?
Cricket becomes darts, becomes NFL. Oh, it's my most wonderful time of the year.
I have to say, I think I'm not quite as an aficionado of all sorts of sport as you are, Rog. And darts and NFL would be. If you were to put me into a cell and pump darts and NFL,
I would love to do that.
If you
just
were
me and you,
Hendo,
and a 24-pack of
I would give up all the secrets of the state within moments. I have to say.
I'd call it a date.
Although I do like, what's her name? Sharrock, is it Sharrock? Fallon
Sharrock.
Yep. She's been doing very well, actually, in the darts. Did she get through the third round or not?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh.
That's very poor of you as a darts
aficionado
not to know.
I think, yeah. Sorry, Fallon. I preferred the old one that was on the BBC.
Yes, isn't it? The PDC is not quite as fabulous, is it, as the other one, or as highly rated. Kagiso Rabada is going to open the bowling for South Africa. He has the cherry in his hand. We'll jingle him up after the first ball because we're ready to go. It'll be Rory Burns facing, and he's beaten. In fact, he's edged it. Now that is extraordinary. It's taken behind the stumps. Burns is thinking about reviewing it. Is this the first time? If this is actually out, he's going to review it. If this is out, will this be the first time that two left-handers of opposing sides have been out first ball of their innings? That is a stat for someone who knows about stats.
I think, bearing in mind that there's only 21 times that someone's fallen to the first ball of the match.
So you think it's fairly unlikely?
The next inning, yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna.
There's a bit of uncertainty there, I think, actually. Among Rabada
it's
doesn't look.
Not a no ball.
It's not a no ball. It was right up there. It wobbled and then it went away. And he would
behind him.
Yeah, he looked behind him.
I think that's out.
Well,
I'm going out.
It's going to be nothing else because his bat was away from his body. Well, let's just see. We're still waiting.
Cox seems very confident.
He does. He does seem.
Where's Bear with our oral update? Bear, what did you hear?
Where's Bear Snickology? That's what I need to know.
And this is a rank review if he's reviewed this and.
Oh, has he just clipped his pad there? Now that's interesting.
Yeah, he's hit his
I think he's hit his pad. I think he's all right. It's miles away from the edge, isn't it? Ooh, this is going to be a tricky one for the third umpire, I think. I think we'll have to see... Ooh, we're looking at front on and side on, side by side. And, yes, as the ball passes the bat, there's nothing on it at all, as far as I can see.
The tiniest of marks, perhaps. There was one like this in the South African innings yesterday,
Yes,
and they couldn't give it.
That's
so
right.
therefore, based on that, then they shouldn't give it.
I think this is not out, and I think he'll be very unlucky if he's given here. I think he's hit the top of his foot, almost right at the bottom of the pad, and it is overturned. He's not out, so it's not one of those amazing stats. You can put your books away, you can put the your websites away, because it's not out.
Nevertheless, here is the jingle we promised you.
He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest, killing this bowler. He can sink your oats like the Spanish Armada. No one faster, no one harder. What's his name? What's his name? Tell me, what's his name? KG.
Who is he? This is wide and wild outside the off stump, and Burns doesn't even give that the time of day. Lets it go, and through the keeper it goes. Any excitement on the Twitter sphere with that overturned decision?
Not quite yet, but there are a few. James Humberstone saying, following yesterday's surprise plan, Stokes should bat at 11 today. Mog talking about weaponry. You'll be unsurprised to learn.
No, just looking at the first two balls. Well, it's all happening in Tashwani, and that was a wide, by the way. No, it was a no ball. So
Wow, they've actually called a no ball.
I've called a no ball. It could have been a wide because it was pretty wide.
That should be recorded for posterity, shouldn't it? Umpires spot no ball.
Oh, I saw David Shepherd's inglorious moment the other day repeated when he failed to give all those no balls against Sacklane Mushtaq. Was that
There missed
2001?
some huge ones yesterday.
Oh, full! That's a great ball. Somehow, Burns has squeezed that out and got it away through the gully region for 4. It's also another no ball. England race on to 5 for no wicket. 6 for no wicket.
1, 1, 2, 2,
Oh, big no ball.
3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4.
Well, some early problems here for Kagiso Rabada, who's given away 5 no balls. 2 no balls, but 4 came off one of them. He's in again, bowls to Burns. Burns tries to flick this one onto the leg side, but gets in a bit of a tangle. The ball just drops in front of him from his body. And there is no run. 90 miles an hour, though. They're quick no balls, if nothing else. Not very helpful if you take a wicket with one.
This is a fabulous new ball pairing, though, isn't it?
Oh.
I mean, you've got Philander that's going to wobble it around all over the place and find any movement that there is, and you've got Rabada running in, bowling like an express, and he's free to do that because Philander's not going to give much away, so therefore he can just attack with impunity.
Well, this one he angles across Burns, who aims a drive at it, but makes no contact. Is beaten by the angle. If anything, just perhaps a little bit of a way swing as well. But
That's that exciting opening bat.
Yes, I was going to say.
Why is
that's-
he going after that?
That's a very good point. He's obviously slightly unnerved by what happened first ball, I guess.
He's
And
been
then
listening to you, Hendo.
Yeah, exactly. He said, "I've got to impress
Feels
Hendo."
obliged to entertain you.
This one is on full on leg stump, but again he tries to flick it away. He doesn't really make contact. Comes off the pad towards short leg, and there is no run. 6 for no wicket, but he's still up there at 90 miles an hour as Kagiso. So he's
Fearsome.
well. I was going to say he's finding his pace much more quickly, say, than Jofra Archer did yesterday. He wasn't slow, but he wasn't as quick as he can be. What I saw of him anyway. 3 slips in the gully and a forward short leg, quite deep the short leg. In fact, tries to dive forward to this one as it pops up off certainly pad. I don't know if there was any bat involved. Presumably not. That is the end of the over, and England have moved to 6 without loss.
And Martin Lawrence is with us. Hi, Martin, who informs me that Fallon Sherrock plays today.
Ah,
And she doesn't. She plays
that's right.
Chris
sorry.
Dobie.
That's right, it is
So
today.
she won 2 games and had a nice Christmas break, but she's back in action today in the darts. Mog says, I must say I'm in no way a fan of hunting, but if it must be done, I would allow only weapons invented before the end of the Bronze Age should be permitted. So not baseball bats or bottles of Bollinger.
Well,
but
I kind of suspect, Mog, that if you were dispatching a fox, one of your swords would be a little bit quicker than the baseball bat, to be honest.
and then Mog also says, due to budget cuts, the 12 days of Christmas have been cut back to 3.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, probably. That's certainly true of this country. Dominic Sibley
very good.
is going to face his first ball. Hasn't really set the world alight in his 2 tests so far, just the 38 runs. But he does have a jingle. It goes like this.
Efficient batting. He made huge runs, the rumor spread by word of mouth. This guy's really talented. Dominic Sibley. Dominic Sibley.
Right, well, he's got it all to prove, hasn't he? And he's facing up to quite a task with Vernon Philander going to be the first bowler that he faces. He has the ball in his hand and it's coming in from the pavilion end. Yeah, it's just getting a little bit of a gut there, is old Philander. That's a horrible ball, really. It's quite slow, it's wide, and it's going wider. Not one of his most impressive deliveries. I think we can call that an old time loosener, really.
Yeah, he might take a while to get. He's allowed his sort of comfortable frame, isn't he, Vernon,
Yeah.
at this age, and
Yeah, just
that
have a-
record.
Yeah, I think a little bit of weight on a man at that age is quite right.
Especially
And,
just
well,
after Christmas.
Yeah,
everyone's
it's well
got that.
deserved, isn't it? He's put in a lot of hours for South African cricket. Here he comes again, bustling up to the wicket. Bowls to Sibley, and it's a good length ball, and it's straight, and he defends it on the front foot up to mid-on, and there is no run.
Look, quite like his new hair. A bit
Yeah.
more of a high top gun makes him look a bit more. Looks more youthful around the face, if
Well-
not around his carriage.
I was going to say that the carriage looks a little bit more weighty, but the face actually looks thinner.
Yeah.
It's just, that must just be a result of the haircut. So whoever his hairdresser is done a fine job. So Sibley, slightly open stance, waits for Philander. Third slip is in a little bit closer than the others, as if they don't expect the ball to carry that far, but it's left alone, this one, outside the off stump. And then Sibley goes down the wicket to do a little bit of gardening. I'll bring you the rest of the field when the cameraman pans by. Do we know what happened to the... Did we get an update on the photographer cameraman who fell down and was seemingly trapped by the covers yesterday before play started? I think we need to know.
Yeah, I'll have a look. I think his name is something Kurtzer.
Oh, right, okay.
So I'll see
Oh,
if
so
I
there
can-
there could be an update.
Yeah.
Health update on cameraman. We always need to know that. Sibley settles down, looks the other end and sees Philander approaching. He's in, he bowls, he leaves as it goes through at a good height to de Kock. And again, no run, just the 77 miles an hour as opposed to the 90 that's steaming in from the other end. Have you got an update?
Well, no. For my first, I put in SA cameraman Kurtzer because I thought I'd heard that on the radio, and one of the first headlines I get is captured SA photographer is still alive.
Hey!
That's from a different story. Sad. But
I don't
so I
know.
can't even confirm yet if he's even alive.
Oh goodness! Well,
So I will rush to that. Or if you're out there and you know that,
was he
please.
taken down by a wild animal on the the outfield? Philander in, bowls, finds the edge, but just short of a diving second slip. Faf du Plessis came forward as far as he could, but it wasn't enough. So just a moment of alarm for Sibley, but he escapes, and that may be why the third slip is up so close. Maybe the second slip needs to get a little bit closer as well. It's well short of him, isn't it, in the end?
Do you know those ones that in previous series you used to see A.B. de Villiers' left hand just thrusting out and picking those up off
Clutching.
it, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, often from third slip, but even so, that was almost felt catchable, but I don't know.
Does get turned around,
Yeah.
Sibley, doesn't he? I don't. Something about his. I know he's. We've seen plenty of unorthodox players of late, but I don't know, there's just something alarms me about him. That's left alone. It was too wide, too short, and through the keeper it goes. Maiden, nonetheless. England remains 6 for no wicket. How are we doing for time, chaps? We must be getting almost
Yeah.
around sort of changing time.
31.
Oh, I'll tell you what. We'll do one more over and then hopefully the bear will come in. John will come into the ball-by-ball chair. The bear will slip seamlessly into the jingles because that's all he can do. And
That's harsh.
and Rog will be the man staying on the
He's
tweets.
had that much beer, has he?
Well, he doesn't like the
We
tweets.
won't
He
ask.
doesn't like the tweets, the bear, I'm
We
afraid to
won't
say.
ask.
UD at Utkarsh, a load of numbers, has joined us. Says, good afternoon, expecting a Rooty double 100.
Ooh, what, another one? 2 in a row? That'd be good. Rabada into Burns, and Burns reacted as if he expected that to be a bouncer by thrusting his head back, but it didn't really get up. But he did leave it alone, and it went through to the keeper.
I was just thinking it's been an eventful time for cameraman and cameras because there was an incident in at the MCG late today where
was there?
a ball from one of the Aussie fast bowlers bounced right over the top of the wicketkeeper, ran down to the boundary and crashed into the roving camera.
Oh, right. Oh, the roving camera.
Yes.
Right.
It
Oh,
actually
okay.
hit the roving camera and they thought the camera had broken.
Rabada in again. Oh, wow! Now that has taken off from a good length. Nothing really that Burns could do about that. He just pushed forward and it flew through to de Kock, who took it around about shoulder height. And that's the kind of fizz he can get off a pitch, a Rabada. Brilliant delivery. You just got to put that in the back of your mind and forget about it, I suppose, as a batsman. And Rory Burns has proved that he's very capable of doing that. As he waits for Rabada again. Again he's expecting the short one. Again, it didn't get up as high as you might have expected. And once more, de Kock takes it more or less in front of his face. And
Almost knocked de Kock over.
yeah, de Kock sort of reacted, didn't he, with a sort of little bit of alarm as well, as if it sort of just did something right at the last moment. Rory Burns now 2 centuries to his name. And 5 50s, averaging just over, almost 33. It's a 29-year-old, so he's been around. He's played a lot of county cricket. Rabada in again, bowls, and again this squeezes off an outside edge. He was aiming that into the onside. It's gone flying wide of gully, all the way along the ground really, and it's brought him a rather fortuitous 4. One thing about Burns in his sort of fledgling Test career, if you can call it that, so far, he does seem to have been dropped quite a lot. So maybe he's just also one of those slightly lucky players, who just gets a few more chances than 1 or 2 others. Rabada in, bowls. This is a better shot, defended with more conviction up to extra cover, and there is no run. 10 for no wicket, England.
On that photographer, Christian Kotze was his name.
Oh, right.
And the one story is The Dawn, I think that's an Indian paper,
Yeah.
tells us that he collapsed in severe pain when what was diagnosed as a badly sprained right knee ligaments.
How did he do that?
And he needed medical treatment on the spot before he was carried away in a stretcher. Good
Yeah, we
story
just
is
see
that
him carried away.
his
yeah.
wife took over.
Multi-talented family, tucked away behind square, in fact all the way down to long leg by Burns, who will keep the strike at the end of the over. England are 11 for no wicket. We'll do some more tweets. John will move into the central chair and I will go and get the bear because he seems to be asleep. Oh no, here he is. On with the tweets.
Well, I just finished the story. Kotze's wife Catherine took over his ground level camera while after treatment he hobbled up to a more comfortable position in the press box. Says, I hope I didn't cause Dean Elgar to lose concentration, but when I was limping past, some English guys thanked me for the wicket. Because, of course, it caused a delay, and then Elgar was out at about 6 minutes past the scheduled start. On the tweets, Greg Smith says that first ball review frames Big Vern's review attempt. Integrity deficit narrative perpetuated by Mr. Philander. Well, those are some big notions for the bear to grapple with as he joins us.
Yeah, good morning, Rog.
Morning to you. Darren Macy's the Rabada jingle is a new favourite. Loving the commentary as always. Cheers, gang. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas to you,
Happy
Darren.
Christmas indeed.
And Mark Zip. Well, you'll hear from
Here
him
is
shortly.
Vernon Philander. Oh, and that's thrown up in the air by de Kock, but
The umpire's not giving it.
Doesn't need to. He's on his
he
way.
doesn't need to. He's walked.
Oh,
He's actually walked. So
Big
The,
Vern.
the first ball of the innings reprieve doesn't earn too many runs for for Burns, who's literally just... Well, that's funny. Looking at that replay, I didn't see an awful lot of bat on that.
Well, no, but I mean, it's obviously a thin nick through, and he knew he got it, and so here's this.
Yes.
All of the dreams that I dreamed were mine are going, gone.
Well,
So Burns has gone for 9 in 15 balls.
indeed. I did put under for the fall of the first wicket, thinking it would be Dominic Sibley, who wasn't going to get many runs, but now we need him to get some. Because Rory Burns has been a bit of a stalwart at the top of the order, it has to be said, in the last few matches. Has nicked one off.
Yeah, I think it might have just brushed his bottom thumb looking at it, because it surprised him with bounce and then just a little bit of movement. But the thing about Burns, he sort of throws his hands at everything. You know, he has this huge back lift and he's all big movements, but you know, already he's been throwing his hand, driving at wide ones, and even when he's edging his you know, they squirt off really quickly because he has these hands.
His hands are a little hard, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, I think we would say. Well, we did fear that a new ball attack of Philander and Rabada would get some early joy, and lo and behold they have, and that's brought this man to the crease.
It's
Joe Denley.
Joe Denley, he's almost as old as this theme song, but Chef is gone and we need someone to bat at the top of the order. Joe Denley, he's also a part-time bowler. He can do leg spin, but he's no Ravi Ashwin. He'll need help from the heavy roller. Joe Denley.
there you go.
That definitely takes me back to my youth, that jingle. Good grief. A dose of Joe 90. Well, we could do with Joe Denley making Joe 90, couldn't we? That would.
He hasn't got a ton yet.
That
but
would be
he's
very handy, wouldn't it?
got a handy 94. I don't know what that touched, actually.
Yeah, I think it must have been glove.
Yeah, but
I think that's
Yeah.
There you go. It's literally taken the glove. It's taken the glove of the bottom hand, I think.
yeah, you definitely feel those as a batsman. You might as well just walk off. You know, yeah.
Yeah, that he's
told his
signalling
partner,
that it took the thumb, isn't he?
Oh, that's got to be out.
Ooh,
Close?
no, it's inside edge. There's an inside edge. There was a little bit of movement there, back in to Denley, but he's just got an inside edge on that, and that's saved him. So Philander is doing trademark Philander things, really. He's
He gets the ball to wobble a bit.
it's
doesn't
just
he?
doing a little bit, isn't
Yeah.
it? And sometimes if it does a little bit, that's worse than doing a lot.
Yes. His average proves it. He's got average of 22 or 20 point something or other over the last few years. And
Here-
at home, he's lethal.
Here he is again to Denley. Denley's tried to drive that one. It's gone out to mid-wicket.
He just finds that perfect length. Philander and batsman, you've got to get right forward to him, I think, and that was where Burns was maybe hanging back. His one was just back of a length, bounced that extra bit. The Denley one there, where he inside edge and just pads, you know, there wasn't that big stride. You almost think, I don't know, someone out there will know better, but batsmen who've done well in countering Philander, if there have been any, might bat further outside the crease. I mean,
Well,
Denley,
He is outside his crease, isn't he?
To negate the movement, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Denley's quite a correct batsman.
yeah.
He certainly gets a big stride in.
But I think all batsmen struggle with that very early in their innings. You know,
Yeah,
to make those
well,
positive
obviously.
movements.
When he was at Middlesex a few years ago, the feeling that a lot of us had about Denley, I'll pick that up after this ball, which he just plays out on the offside. The feeling that some of us had about Denley was that he just didn't concentrate enough to make the most of his talent. Whereas as he's got older, he seems to have
Settled in.
got a little bit more steel about himself mentally, perhaps.
More maturity.
That'll talk him out, probably, won't it?
Yeah, don't do that.
Better be careful.
Don't do that, John.
Better be careful of that.
That man in the bucket hat that just disappeared under screen, he's Joe Denley's biggest fan. That's Matty Goss, and he's good pals with Denley, so he'll be, although he's relaxing on the grass bank, he'll be
Here's Philander
nervy.
again. And Denley just gets in line and plays that back along the offside of the pitch. Another one of Denley's biggest fans is former Middlesex and Leicestershire player Neil Dexter. They were very, very good friends in their early days at Kent together, so I wouldn't be surprised if Neil Dexter is tuning into the coverage somewhere this morning and watching his mate.
Well, it's quite a good time in England, this test match, really, starting at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, pretty sociable.
Well, on that, Mark Zipp very kindly has got in touch with Tanya Allred, who does the Guardian ball-by-ball commentary, over-by-over commentary, sorry, and he says, for OBO readers wanting radio coverage, may I suggest the fun folks Guerrilla Cricket. We are not geo-blocked. We can be heard worldwide online. And he describes us as irreverent, well-informed, experienced, and funny. Well, there are four of us, so I don't know which one do you want to claim?
Yeah, hey. Here's Rabada again into Sibley, and that lifts on him a little bit, and he again gets a bit sort of turned around, but he pushes it out to short mid-wicket.
And UD on the tweets tells me that the Dawn is not an Indian paper, it's a Pakistani paper. Thank you for that, UD.
Ah.
Well, they were first with the Christian Kotze news, which
An
we were very
important
grateful
distinction.
for. Yeah.
I still don't know how he managed to twist his knee, unless he got hit by something or fell over something.
I think he was tangled up in the tarpaulins, wasn't he? The covers.
Oh, that kept low.
Reminds me of the old Eddie Izzard thing, talking about tarpaulins. Did you ever see that sketch about
No.
thou shalt not cover thy neighbour's ox? What's
No.
that? What's under that tarpaulin? It's my ox. Thou shalt not cover thy neighbour's ox. I'm just showing my age, aren't I? Again,
well.
really. You know, hey, here's Rabada into Sibley. Oh, that's a wild one down the leg side, and the cock manages to get across and prevent that running away for runs. We've already seen the two sides of Gisa Rabada, I think, some really fearsome stuff that's caused a problem and some very wayward stuff.
Yeah, he was talking the other day about how he's got to control his temper. He's got quite a few warnings on the pitch.
Yes, he did get a lot of disciplinary points, didn't he?
Yeah.
A year or so ago. The trouble is, I guess if you're a fiery fast bowler, you're always going to have a bit of that about you, aren't you? Otherwise you're not fiery.
No.
But yeah, you can't let it sort of overspill, can you?
That last one really took off from a similar spot, the one that had died, and then the next ball was the cock was taking one by his shoes and then one by his face.
Here's Rabada again. And that one is straight onto the pads, and Sibley plays it away through mid-wicket for one of these.
One of these. Come on, you stupid machine.
It did go for four, honest.
Well, that's the kind of area you think that Sibley is never going to have any problems because of the way he sets himself up, the way he closes his face on the bat. And
Yeah, he's ready for that, isn't
he's
he?
ready for that, and everything. The way he sets up, it's a bit like Tom Wesley, is that everything seems to want to go through the leg side. He's got very strong hand on the bottom, closes the face a lot.
Yeah, we'll be hoping for greater test longevity than Tom Wesley.
Oh,
Oh, that's out. I think he's nicked that, hasn't he? The
Wow.
umpire's not moved,
the umpire hasn't moved. Has he?
but
walked?
has he walked?
He hasn't walked.
I think he is going to walk, though. Yes, he's persuaded himself he's got to go.
No, decision review by who?
Well, he's walking off. He's tucked his
He's
bat under his
walking off.
arm.
He's tucked his bat under because they've reviewed it. He seems to have started to go and now stopped again.
Big Edge was there, Hendo. Did you hear
Yeah,
anything
he's-
in the green room?
I mean, the ball's lifted on him and gone past the shoulder of the bat. The umpire didn't give it, but Sibley has walked.
Well, the square leg umpire seems to stand suggesting that it caught his glove. I don't know. It's decision
Wow,
reviewed.
that-
I wouldn't get off the pitch until they've had a look at that.
I mean, again, de Kock's very confident, isn't he? He's gone up very quickly.
Well, and so I don't know about that. Maybe let's hit his shoulder. I'd stay on a pitch, mate. Let him fucking review it. There we go.
No, it's nicked the corner of the bat.
It has nicked
There
the
you
corner of
go.
the bat. There you go.
It's literally nicked the shoulder of the bat.
Are they checking his front foot? He's already bowled a whole lot of
And England are now in deep trouble. That's 15 for 2.
Sake. Well, he hit 4 and then he was
15 for 2
ooh,
in the 4th over.
we have no sound.
Yeah, I mean, amazing the bounce that Rabada gets just on that channel, that 5th stump line, and the slow motion really showed that Sibley's eyes, he stays leg side with that very open stance of his, and he's playing the ball outside of his right eye, so he's just thrusting his hands towards it. Maybe didn't need to play, okay, it was on a back of a length, but there's variable bounce, so perhaps he did think he had to fence at it, but I think there's a big flaw in his technique there that will be raked over by harsher analysts than I.
Well, I think the big problem there was we'd already had 2 balls in that over, one that took off and one that died on its way through to de Kock. So we're already seeing that you're almost second guessing where the ball's going, how the ball's going to bounce.
Well, they did say that the pitch was going to get worse, didn't they? Over the time.
Here is Philander. Oh, and that's very nearly played onto his stumps by Denley, who really seemed to lose sight of the ball altogether there, and inside edged it. It's hit him on the foot, and
He remains there.
he remains
remains
there,
there.
and he's been joined by the England captain.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a picked, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, I think the fact that
Introduce yourself.
the pitch is going to deteriorate makes even less sense of Root's decision to bowl first yesterday, which I thought was nonsensical at the time, and I still do. Here's Philander again. That one lifts a little bit more. It's drifting into the pads of Denley, who gets in a little bit of a tangle, but
Again, that one bounced on him, didn't it? That from a length.
from a
that was
length
up on
as
his
well.
Yeah.
hip. Yeah.
It's really unpredictable already. 284 looks a lot
It does. Well, yeah, it does. It does.
at this precise moment. It looks huge.
Got to get through the new ball. Got to get it to 20 overs without losing another wicket now. At least another 30 runs on the board.
Here is Denley again, taking guard. Philander's in and bowls.
Oh, that's
close. That's very, very close. It's nipped back in. Philander's very insistent that should be out. They're debating whether they're going to review, but I'm not sure he is. Duplessis doesn't look terribly interested. He's not talking to anybody.
Oh, that nipped back a little bit, didn't it?
Maybe it nipped
maybe
back
a
too
new
far.
ball, maybe a little bit too high, maybe a little bit too far. I mean, he is batting outside the crease. He's not.
I
short,
think
is
it's
he?
too high. It's too high. Top knee pad.
Yeah,
and
it's hit him
going out.
above the roll.
And
It's hit him
on
above
its
the
way
roll
up.
and it's drifting towards leg side. So a wise decision not to review, I think.
Yeah, I think that's.
But
going over the
Denley
top.
again beaten all ends up really.
Didn't really do it. Didn't do too much, did he? He just kind of played down the wrong line. Nipped back a little bit.
Well, he just looked like his feet were in completely the wrong place there,
Well.
really. Just here's Philander again. This one's just outside off stump, and Denley lifts his bat and offers no shot.
Do you think bowlers are doing themselves any favours with these celebrapils, which is probably my least favourite cricketing term at the moment? But
Indeed.
Philander did one there, he just ran down the pitch celebrating rather than appealing, and the video shows that it would have gone over by about
It's well
3
over.
inches. But that's not going to endear you to an umpire to put his finger up, is it? If you
No,
just
I wouldn't
if
have
you
thought so.
decide yourself that it's out,
Yes,
I
Mr.
would
Gaffney
keep my
was
finger in my
not
pocket.
was unmoved. Denley again. Both batsmen still to go off the mark here. Here's Philander to Denley, and Denley sort of with a rather elaborate lifting of the bat and leaving one outside the off stump again.
Well, thankfully this tweet is still up to date. It's 11 minutes ago. It was Linux Lair saying, "Here comes Joe, England captain of the Hearts, Denley."
Well, he's still there. We got 2 Joes
That's right.
out in the middle right now. a double Joe, and can they do us a favour here?
Well, they have to, don't they?
have
Really?
to. Someone's got to get runs. I mean, you've got to think that without Quinton de Kock's 90 odd, if you'd got an average score of 20, that'd have been 210, 220 all out. So someone needs to stand up and get some runs. Oh, wow.
That's gone straight through Denley. It's gone straight through him.
That's gone between bat and pad.
That's gone
on the
between
inside edge.
between bat and pad. Missed the inside edge. Missed the stumps. Missed everything. Denley survives again. We're not quite sure how. It's a maiden for Philander. It's 15 for 2.
Let's talk about less serious matters. It's all too fraught. Mog talking about the cameraman yesterday said someone yesterday in the Australia, Matt Smith, I think, was complaining about the roving boundary camera because it was in his eye line and wearing a Santa hat.
Genius.
That's a good way to get Smith.
You've got to do something to get Smithy out. Actually, the catch that got him out, I saw that briefly before I went to bed. That was a good catch. Another bouncer by Wagner, who's the number 3 bowler in the world.
Yeah, another
interesting.
Cheap fourfer for Wagner.
Yeah, he emerged from that sort of, run fest quite well, didn't he, really?
Yes.
As he often does.
This one isn't on Twitter, but I'm going to share it with my friend Jenks, and he says cameraman Kotzer's collapsing calamity causes Christmas cricketing cessation. Karen Catherine carries on to cover couple in copy.
Oh, nice.
Here's Ravada. That's too wide. Left alone by Root, who therefore survives his first ball.
And in cricketing matters, Mog says Sibley's flaw may just be that he's shithouse.
Who said that, Mog?
Mog.
Yeah, you could be right. To me, he doesn't look like an international batsman, I've got to say.
That's harsh.
Well, I don't know. You can only go on what you see, and what I see is not a man who should be opening the batting at Test level. But hey, he's only played 3 Tests.
Oh, another absolute corker from Rabada. Almost York's Root. Misses the outside edge. Misses the off stump. At the moment, there's almost a wicket liable to happen every ball.
It does kind of feel like that.
Oh,
got to get through this spell.
Where are his feet going? I mean, this is a full
nowhere.
ball.
Absolutely nowhere. Feet didn't move at all until after the ball had gone past the bat.
Well, it was only his second ball facing. I mean, it's difficult.
It's a cracking delivery.
It's a cracking delivery. You're going to get them.
Here's Rabada again. Oh, and that's hit Root as he tried to take evasive action. I don't know whether it's come off the glove or the bat or
I think it's come off
the
the
thigh.
handle.
It's been signalled as runs, but he didn't know anything about that at all.
You don't often see Root troubled by short stuff, do you, to be fair?
He's trying to turn out the way of it. It's hit him right at the top of the glove, almost on the wrist. Didn't have any idea where it had gone. Fortunately, it went down towards fine leg and brought him 2 runs. But
This is memories of Donald and Pollock, isn't it? This opening attack?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's Rabada again.
Oh.
And again, Root's played and missed at that. He holds the pose and thinks, "Why didn't that hit my bat?" Well, I think you were beaten for pace, Joe. I think that's the truth.
Beaten for pace, went a little bit nipped a bit off the seam, and he was going for the drive.
See, this is why for me, Rabada is the best of the best right now.
You think?
Yeah, I do. If I had one pick, I would have Kagisa Rabada.
He's a quality bowler.
I would.
Left alone outside.
Yes,
the
it
off
was indeed left alone outside the off stump. I mean,
I don't see enough of him. I mean, I every time I've seen him, I think he's been quite impressive. But I really haven't seen enough of him to say he's the best of the best. He's certainly got pace. I think Pat Cummins for me is actually the man I'd pick.
it was quite interesting before the World Cup that all the captains were asked at a sort of pre-World Cup press conference who they would pick if they could have somebody from another team. Here's Rabada again, and that's just played back down the pitch by Root. End of the over, 17 for 2. Yeah, they were asked. They had some school kids in at this press conference, and one of these school kids said, "If you could have any player from any other team other than yours, who would you have?" And of course, most of the captains were diplomatic and refused to say so because didn't want to undermine their own team, I suppose. And they got as far as Kane Williamson, and he just said, "I'd have Rabada." Straight away, it was kind
good
of
old Kane. He always plays it
was
straight.
like, hey. Somebody said it like it is.
Yeah, well, that's refreshing. Steve Callett on the tweet says, well, this is all going depressingly along with the expected script then. Messi Jez, bloody hell, that was quick. It was 11 for none when I lost my Wi-Fi. Suddenly it's 15 for 2. Evening, my lovelies. Evening to you. And a merry Messi Jesmus to you too. And
Here is Philander into Denley, who just plays that out to a short mid-off.
Well, the thing you got to think here is that everything gets easier the longer you spend the time at the crease, and all you got to do is try and miss the ball. Essentially, not get out if there's a bad ball. Try and hit it. I mean, it's a new ball. They're two world-class bowlers, so it's not unsurprising that you'd expect to lose the early wicket, especially with Sibley. You'd hope, but Burns has established himself. You hope you wouldn't get a good nut, but he got a good nut. Sibley, I think, is pretty much a walking wicket.
Yeah, they knew this was coming.
Yeah.
The question is, can you find a way to deal with it?
Well, the thing is, if you can get 17 to 2 to 80 to 2.
Here's Philander again, and he's right on the money again, just outside off stump, and Denley, with a minimum of foot movement, just comes and plays it out on the offside.
Hendo, when you come in a minute, if you're listening, can you bring me a cup of coffee? My coffee cup's next to the computer. That'd be really lovely.
I'll have an oat milk latte, please.
Too early for a beer, clearly.
Definitely too early for a beer.
Even for bear.
Even for me. If I'd been up all night, of course, it would be very late, and I'd be very half cut.
Yeah.
But I have only been up for 2 hours, so I don't think I'll be having beer yet.
Here's Philander again, top of his mark, runs in. He's stopped by the umpire. Something's disturbed Denley's concentration.
I think the bails fell off.
Backed away. The bails have fallen off.
Is it windy
at the non-striker's end? Yeah, it would appear to be a little bit blowy. The flags seem to be going a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so clearly some maintenance needs to be done by the umpire.
I mean, even if these two, well, if one of them gets 30 and one of them goes on to get 50, that gets 100 for 2, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Here's Philander again, and that's off the edge and just short of third slip, who parries it to fourth slip, and this torrid opening for England continues.
Still good soft hands from Denley there, in contrast to Burns, that he at least he played this under his eye line. It wasn't a big stride, but he
he's
kept
angled
it
the
down.
bat a little bit,
Yeah.
hasn't he, and given himself every chance of surviving that.
Yeah. He does have a nice soft grip. They were showing a highlight of that, Denley. The bat is nicely loose and relaxed in his hands as he waits for the ball. So a strong top hand.
This is a real examination for these two England batsmen, though. Here's Philander again, and that's again just outside off stump. Doesn't bounce very much, it seemed. And
Well, he bowls very full, doesn't he? And he doesn't. I mean, it's only 79 miles an hour.
Denley played it out on the onside this time, and mid-wicket came in and did the fielding. Yeah, he seems to be playing the ball very much under his eyes, which is
How you should do.
pretty textbook. Yeah,
And he's a good foot and a half, 2 foot even outside his crease.
to negate any little bit of movement
Plus,
from Philander.
Yeah, plus I think lack of pace as well. He wants to field bat on ball and cover it.
Here's Philander again, and this one's too wide, and Denley just shoulders arms and lets it go through to de Kock. 16 balls now, Denley, without getting off the mark.
I don't think that'll bother him. Who was maligning him yesterday? Was that you, Roger? Or was that Fred?
It
was
Fred.
wasn't
Fred. He's not a fan. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've come round to Denley.
I've come around to him as well. I think he's done it. Considering how shit we have been in the top 3 for
Well, surely we've got to
a
be
year and a half.
We've got to be a fan of somebody who can
Well,
dig in, for goodness
got to
sake.
take time. I mean, he's he knows to cook. When he used to get 30, he used to use up 70, 80 balls to get
Exactly.
that 30. And if you do that, that's it's
Here's Philander again, and that's again too wide, and Denley's not interested. It's another maiden for Philander, who's bowled 4 overs, 1 for none
right, well,
so far, 17 for 2.
That's typical.
There's a Twitter handle here which is 3212. Does that mean anything to you, Englishman? That's, of course, 3212 is the Twitter handle. Of course, that was the Rugby World Cup final score.
Oh God!
At Bock and Roll, he says, I'm listening on Gorilla Cricket and it sounds like England are lucky not to be all out yet. And then he has a friend, Dehan.
He has a point.
Dehan JV replies to him in Afrikaans. Now, should I give that a go?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. He says, Vern en Rabada is lus weer paltjes vat. Ingelsa lik sos en bok en baki say spotlights.
Here is Rabada. And Root gets forward and
that's a
plays this
lovely
one
shot.
nicely away. Square of the wicket, that's 4.
That's a beautiful shot.
That's about the only shot England have played so far.
Well, the one thing you can say is the outfield here is pretty quick.
See, that was better from Root. He got a decent stride in and just used the pace of the ball.
Timed it off.
Steered it out square of the wicket, all timing.
Lovely shot.
Very good shot. We could do with 20 or 30 more of those, Joe.
Yeah, good stride.
Here's Rabada again. And that one's very wide and gets up very high. De Kock throws up a right hand and manages to pull the ball down out of the sky.
Well, what you have to say is England have got to get a first innings lead here, even if it's 30 or 40.
Yeah, otherwise no chance at all.
No chance at all.
Not on this pitch, which is already...
You can imagine by day 4 it's going to be up and down like a yo-yo, isn't it?
It is, because it's already
It's
pretty unpredictable on the morning of day 2. So
I like a spicy wicket. It's better than that shit we were seeing in New Zealand.
here's Rabada again, and this one again bounces on Root, hits him somewhere around the thigh pad and goes out on the onside.
Was the thigh pad a little inside edge? Short legs deep, or square leg? There is no short
Yeah,
leg.
I think I would have a short leg in for Rabada the way he's
No, there was thigh pad.
bowling. It did hit him smack on the thigh pad. He was jumping in the air as well. Discomforted again, I think we could say. Rabada has been full of spit and fire in this opening spell, hasn't he?
Nortj's quite quick as well, isn't he?
Here he is again, and
it's
that's
gone.
actually hit Root on the helmet as he tries to take evasive action.
So
It's
that'll be
gone
4
over the
runs.
slips. That's going to be 4, yeah.
Badged him.
It has. Will they give him a...
Or have they given?
Well,
Have they given dead? No, they've given the runs.
Yeah.
I think.
did they give it to Root? No, they can't give it to
No,
Root.
they've given
Yeah,
4 leg
4
buys,
runs,
haven't
yeah.
they? They've given it as 4 leg buys.
And there'll be a delay here because I have to check.
Yes,
the
because
No,
they'll
that's-
have to check because it's hit him on the helmet,
It's a glancing blow. Should be fine.
right on top of the helmet. In fact. Wow, that was
Leg
swift
buys.
again.
They have to change his helmet as well.
Yeah, they will.
That was a good sort of Martin Keown at the near post, just flicking it on for Alan Smith or someone. Well, I'll catch up with the tweets
Indeed.
in this break. Would you like to hear some stats that almost were
Yes.
from Nakul Pandey? 2 openers that were out first ball of the innings, which we thought we had in this game. Bill Woodfull and Jim Christie of South Africa at the MCG in 1932. Stan Worthington and Jack Fingleton in an Ashes test at the Gabba in 36. And Shane Watson and Taranga Paranavitana at Gaul in August 2011. So
Not done, Nicole.
yeah, we're not sure if those are in the actual both in the first innings, which we nearly had, which I imagine would have been a unique experience. But there's still time for that list to be joined. And the Duke of Umbridge, star emoji live from the gates of hell, flame emoji at all caps ice twice, who joined us yesterday, one of my new favourite tweeters, says, "My dear," at Gorilla Cricket. He always
Oh, yes. He's
aristocracy,
He's
you
very
see,
formal,
yeah.
yes.
"My dear at Gorilla Cricket, in the present dire circumstances, I feel we might consider giving Julian Mom a run in the England top order. He's clearly a man who knows how to get more than an outside edge on the object he's trying to hit." So, hello Umbers. Knuckles says, "Was we were a bit harsh on Sibley? That was a ripper. Came through almost shoulder height from a length, and he couldn't quite manage to miss it." I was just saying that maybe it was harsh, but I'm just saying his technique
Yes,
is-
exactly.
is, I mean, yeah, it was a
I'm-
corker of a delivery, but
I'm with Knuckle. I think that was a snorter.
No.
It was a bit of a snorter, but I mean, you're quite quick. I don't know. I mean, you just look at him and you think, for me, I look at him and I think, nah, I ain't a test opener.
and he also
Mind
says,
you, we haven't found one of those for quite some while.
No, well, no. I mean, the best we got is Rory Burns at the moment. I mean, he scored 2 tons in his 28 innings.
things you don't expect to hear on Gorilla from Mary Messiasmus. It's too early for a beer. We'll rectify that soon enough, don't worry.
Well, Bear will rectify that sooner or later.
Yeah.
I've only got 4 beers today. They all come after midday.
And 3212 says, "Haha, well done on the Afrikaans, guys." Oh, thanks.
What does it mean, though?
It said, well, he tells
Well
me-
done, Rog.
He said the bowlers are making the English batsmen look like deer in the headlights.
Ah, okay.
Well, thanks. I think that's the first Afrikaans I've
They
ever
are
attempted.
indeed.
Des is with us.
All right, Des.
Any theories as to why Denley was given a white ball only central contract, given he only plays tests? Oh, that had passed me by, actually. Any thoughts?
No.
Ed
Maybe
Smith-
they can
Ed-
pay
Ed-
him less
Ed Smith.
and get him in a test side.
Need we say any more?
Mojo is just saying vote Gorilla Cricket. Mojo at Dundee 24, an Indian man. Hello, Mojo. And James Humberstone telling him Neil Wagner's spell against Smith and Head was really.
It is.
No,
Oh,
this is the highlight.
we're replaying the wickets here because they're still doing repairs and checks on Joe Root.
Of course, we only had about 83 overs yesterday, didn't we? 81 and a bit overs.
Well, here is the Sibley dismissal again, being shown again. Actually, I mean that is.
I mean, it did climb.
That is a snorter, an absolute snorter. That's almost unplayable.
Well,
actually.
I mean,
Why is he following it with his
Why is
hands?
he following it with his
Yeah.
hands? Exactly. I mean, it's short. It's never going to hit the stumps. The only way you're going to get out to that is caught, and that's by flashing it. I mean, I know you only get milliseconds to make the choice, but
The line is great though. I mean, the
line is good, but
the line is great, and he's not expecting it to lift to that degree.
But sure, your survival instincts kick in, and you think, well, I don't want my bat having anything to do with
well,
this.
exactly. It's outside. It's marginally outside the off stump. I've covered my off stump, and therefore it's climbing. Just pull the hands out of the way and sway back. I don't know. Maybe we're making it too easy. I wouldn't have even seen it.
No, of course. And
Yeah.
perhaps, don't forget, the ball before was in his zone. It was on that middle and leg, which he tucked away nicely. So he had felt the ball on the middle of his bat, which every batsman loves to do. And then you feel, oh, I'm in, right. Now, what's my next thing? Well, your next thing is still survival. It's not to get bat on ball again.
Exactly.
You can treat each ball in its merits. I am going to go further trenching and say, Sibley, you're crap.
I'm with you, Rog. I'm with you. Obviously, John's
Dear
John's
me.
not happy with us here.
Dear me. I'd like to have seen a few more established players trying to play that ball, and I think most of them would have got out. That's my thought.
No, well, no, it's.
Anyway,
Here.
Joe Root's ready again, and Rabada's in, and he gives very generously gives Root a sighter with a wide ball, which Root is able to leave, and it goes through to de Kock. One more ball. I think we're due for a bit of a switcheroo, aren't we?
Hendo's about to come in, and
Hendo's about
Roger's
to
going to
reappear.
replace you,
Indeed, Roger's going to slide into the ball-by-ball seat,
and you're going to get your half an hour.
and I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee. Yeah. But before all that, here's Rabada again in this fearsome spell. Bowls to Root, and again Root's able to leave that. It goes through to de Kock. It's the end of the over, an eventful over, and it's 25 for 2.
And I will tell you how you can help us out.
Alternative cricket commentary. Bringing you laughs, bringing you jingles, bringing you joy. We are Gorillas. We need your... Patreon.com/Gorilla Cricket.
Oh, God, I just looked up and seen those figures from Philander. 4
Oh, no.
overs, 4 maidens, 1 for none.
And Rabada, meanwhile, has
Extraordinary.
bowled 5 overs to 21.
Sorry, Philander. I said Rabada, I think, didn't I? Yeah. Oh, this is Test cricket at its best, isn't it? I'm absolutely loving it.
It's red hot stuff, and Vern is charging in now to Denley, who pushes forward, good big stride, driving up to mid-on. Bit scrappy. Vern almost thought that he was going to sneak one in past his inside edge onto those pads, but Vern, he hardly moves it. He just keeps it on that 4th stump line, and you've got to respect every ball and do your best to survive. And then don't even think about getting runs off him at this stage. He's bowled 25 dots in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. The bear is right. You just got to survive in this session. He's saying you just got to stay out there, and it gets easier. It gets a little, maybe not that easy, but it gets a little bit easier.
Exactly. Plus, you put pressure back on them.
It's in again on a 5th stump line, and Denley just leaves it through to the keeper. So these two Joes are looking to consolidate Parlous position. 15 for 2 has become 25 for 2, but Denley still on naught.
And you've got to think that actually South Africa, apart from they lost Dean Elgar early and they lost another wicket one at 30s, and then they were 70 for 2 essentially.
Well, maybe
70, they got to 70 for 2, 70 odd for 2, and then they lost the third wicket, and then they were 100 odd for 5, and they could have quite easily been
111 for 5. Yeah, I mean they could have collapsed to 160 all out. Absolutely.
Yeah. 3 slips, expectant, hands on knees, and Philander pulls out of his run up.
Yeah, I was feeling mildly responsible because I did sort of say that I didn't really want to sit around and watch Sibley and Burns bat that much, and now we've got Root out there, and you've got a top class batsman against top class bowling now. Whatever you say about Sibley, he's away from being a top class batsman at the moment.
Yep.
I think we may be being a little bit harsh. I think it was a really good ball from. I mean, it's the bounce that Rabada's getting off a length that is so difficult, and that's what Jofra Archer was doing in the summer. It's the bounce off a good length that really gets players, gets good batsmen out.
Yeah, Vern's ready to go now, and chugging in, well upholstered seamer, and again it's on a little inside edge into the pads again from Denley, but
a little wobble away there, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's maybe just curved away in the air and maybe wobbled back off the pitch, but wibble wobble. And Denley again with a decent enough stride, doing enough to cover up. I think Andries Löw on the tweets there has
the latest one.
Yeah,
he says South Africa's not the place to start a batting career as an opener, so not to sort of cautions us about being too harsh on Sibley. Yes, I take that point. I think that's reasonable. You are bowling. You're batting against 2 bowlers who've got averages of 20, 21, 22.
And again, and back of a length, Denley. Well, he defended at it, and again he maybe thinks he didn't need to play at it, but that's the confusion that Philander causes. But again, those soft hands meant that it just dropped out on the offside safely enough. But every ball from this over has posed real questions of Denley, and he's survived so far. And it's a really fascinating contest. Shout out to Dion Crace and Jeremy Fredericks, my Afrikaans buddies, doing the commentary.
You might get a job with them.
Yeah, I saw Fanny de Villiers was on earlier. I always liked Fanny. He could wobble it around for sure. Philander, this one's on the pad, and Denley, I think he will get his first run. He's tucked it backward a square on the onside. We'll wait for the signal. There was perhaps a thigh pad involved. And I'm afraid so, Denners, you're still on naught. Chris Gaffney touches his own thigh to signal that, and Philander is still 0 in his runs column.
I like the idea that Denley sort of pretty much played out 4 overs of maidens against Philander. He gets a run, it's actually not to him, and then he realises that in a ball from now he's going to have to face Rabada for the first time.
And the thing is, there's such a difference in pace, isn't there, as well?
Yes.
I mean, Philander's just wobbling it around at 80, and Rabada's up above 90, and
yeah, absolutely
and
true.
a lot more aggressive, so it's very much different things to think about, both ends.
A slip has come out for Root. His first ball, it's on the offside, he defends it out to point. And Denley will have to face Philander's joined up his 5th maiden, none for 1. England are 26 for 2, and it is riveting stuff.
Interesting. I thought also just a little field placing there. I think he said the slip came out, and he had 3 men in sort of almost in a row. One a little bit further forward, on the leg side, covering that sort of clip from Joe Root. Perhaps they've seen something there. They think they can get him there.
That might have even been a double bluff to say, well, I'm going to target your pads, although you won't get off strike, and then no, actually I'll hang it outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
that said, I mean, the one good shot that's been played so far this morning was, well, from England's point of view, was that lovely push drive from Root. He played beautifully. I think it was off Rabada, wasn't it? And played it square, and it was, it befitted the man who's just come off a double century in Test cricket. 3 slips in the gully and a forward short leg now, isn't it, for Rabada? He's gone for 21 runs, would you believe?
Yeah,
a bit like Archer. Expensive but aggressive, Yeah.
Got Sibley in his back pocket, and now he's charging into Kent's Joe Denley, who's back in his crease, defending a short one, up to mid-on. And Rabada effortlessly achieving 140 clicks. That's 87 miles an hour in the Queens.
Yeah, can you imagine I was going to say, can you imagine an attack of Archer and Rabada at their best? That would be like facing the pace battery of West Indies in the in the 80s, wouldn't it?
Yeah, some good quicks around. This fella Nassim Shah as well as
Yes.
who's announced himself this winter. Rabada full and in on off stump. Didn't Denley defends. It was maybe drivable length, but he just pushed it up to mid on, and still on naught. 24 balls he's faced.
You've got to say, I reckon that the pitches in South Africa are some of the best in the world for cricket in terms of what they offer. They offer pace and bounce for the bowlers. As a batsman, you like it coming onto the bat, so it gives you the opportunity to score runs. The outfields are reasonably quick. Good place to play cricket, man.
Yeah. Rabada back and dropped. The keeper, de Kock, went across. Van der Dussen, who's at first slip. Did he touch it? It's hit the carpet anyway, and Rabada's not impressed because it's a genuine edge that hung in the air for a long time. Denley waiting on the back foot, and de Kock might have been best just to leave it straight through the first slip. I'm not sure. Do you think he got a paw on it?
Yeah, I think
he did.
I mean, I think the keeper just put him off massively.
I think it was dying as well, though, wasn't he? He did seem to play. He followed it.
Oh no, it would have carried. It did. It was just a straightforward spill by Van der Dussen, and de Kock wasn't really in his eye line.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. That I mean, when I saw it at full speed, I thought that de Kock really did put him off there. I just suppose if in your peripheral vision, the wicketkeeper's diving towards you, maybe it does.
He follows it up by spraying it down the leg side, and Rabada is there. The ex-Kent teammate of Denley's, of course, and Van der Dussen on debut looks pretty pretty chastened there, because an inexperienced man must have just been slightly distracted by de Kock, but it was going straight in. A nice big loopy one. Okay, it was dying on him, but still about a foot off the turf. He'd gone onto his knees, which maybe isn't the best position
Is
to
that
catch
why
from.
de Kock went? Because he felt that it was dying, maybe, and it was going to fall short. Is that why he went for it? So I think it was definitely first slip's catch, really.
Yeah, this one carries through nicely from a length, left alone by Denley.
Well, he's got a life. Can he make it count?
Yeah.
Burns didn't.
Well, you can think of certain players who always make it count. Don't you? I mean, you think Smith, if he's dropped on noughts, Steve Smith, he'll go on and punish you. At the moment, it doesn't look like Denley's going to punish anyone. Really, he's sort of hanging on the back foot full time, really, isn't he? He's under the cosh.
He is. He survived 27 balls.
But he would like to, just getting off the mark. I mean, when you've been out there and you haven't scored for that many balls, it just does prey on your mind.
Rabada with one more ball in this over, and Denley with a firm pitch will get off the mark. A really good positive nudge into the offside. A route, I'm sure, helped to recognise that there was one there. Pretorius hanging back in the covers, and Denley's off the mark, although he should have been back in the hutch for none. England are 27 for 2.
Ian Jones gets in touch, says, what's all happening here? He says, I don't know what this is in reply to. It's twice, saying only problem with him is the huge tantrum he'll have when he's given out. He'll be demanding a people's DRS even after the umpire and normal DRS give him out. Who are we talking about? I'm not sure who that is. Anyway,
Smith, maybe.
Genro has joined us. He says, charming, lovely people, good morning. Is betting on extras still illegal? Was it ever illegal?
Don't think it is.
Betting is illegal in a number of places that we would like to do business, but there you go. And I'm going to try some of your pies later.
Oh, the pie's good, man.
The pies are good. The bear has given his seal of approval.
They've got mushrooms and cheese in. I mean,
what's not to
mushrooms and
like
cheese in a
about
pie is,
those? Knuckle Poundy says, in more stats that almost were, this would have been the first time that openers would have dismissed first ball of each first innings. Javid Omar of Bangladesh was once out first ball of both innings of the same test versus India in Dhaka in May 2017.
Poor old Javid Omar.
Yeah.
2017, I thought he played before that.
No, 2007, yeah.
Pretorius is into the attack, new bowler.
Oh.
On debut, his first ball is harmlessly outside of stump, left alone, but yeah, let's get him jingled.
Pretorius.
Oh, takes you back, doesn't it? Bit of Duran Duran. Is that Duran Duran?
Yeah, we were so coke-addled Duran Duran, weren't we, yesterday?
So Philander takes a rest after 5 maidens, and Pretorius right arm over. Tall man is bowling straight to Denley, turns him into the onside, but Rabada at mid-wicket prevents a run. And Denley will have to keep full concentration here. It's easy to lapse just because the new ball examination has changed, ended. But
this is Pretorius' test debut.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been around though. He's been around. He's 29, I think.
He's played a few ODIs, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's 29 on his back, right arm over. A bit of gentle away swing, which is studied through to the keeper by Denley. No great pace. That was 123 kph, but
terrible. That's
well,
very slow.
Gentle, yeah, 77, but a bit of wobble, and perhaps that's why he's been. Well, this new ball will still have a. After 11 overs, they'll have worked a bit of shine on one side, and rather than Nortier, which we'll see, who we'll see soon, I'm sure. Easy run up, again, just on a length, defended by Denley to mid off.
3212 says, have you guys seen Nortier bowl? I've seen a little bit of footage of him, and I was mighty impressed, I have to say, of what I saw. Greg Smith says, I think roller info at a break is worth being more accessible and transparent for fans. At a guess, this pitch has had the maximum of the heavy roller at the swap. Who chooses the roller, fielding or batting side?
Batting side.
Or side, just about to go into bat, yeah.
Denley waits and defends on the back foot, straight back down the pitch. Having a good look at Dwayne Pretorius.
James Huntsman says, at least South Africa have to bowl with the same piece of shit Kookaburra ball that we did yesterday. It'll be soft and the seam flat in another 10 overs.
Well, this is the thing. This is why you've got to stay out there and not get out, because it does become easier.
Knuckle comes back and says, I saw some of Nortier bowl in the recent India series. He's properly quick, even faster than Rabada, and has a lovely strong action. Could be fun.
Pretorius. Oh, easy played on almost. Oh, he survives an inside edge.
Jesus.
Trip, and it was on that good line and length from Pretorius. Denley slightly hesitantly forward. The hands almost too soft because it ran back, and he was desperately looking. It bounced on him a bit, got a bit of glove. And just missed that leg stump.
I saw the bail flick off from behind, from the front view.
Well, Denley has had a couple of really close shaves. That did bounce off a gentle
over
pace.
the stump, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it took.
It's almost on the bottom of the handle when he's played that, hasn't it? That's how much it's bounced from a length, really, because he's on the front foot.
At Minesley 77 miles an hour.
And here we are. Here we are. We're going to see the aforementioned Mr. Nortier.
Let's give him a jingle.
If your number one project is to have yourself a bride, I think I've got your number one guy. He was bought by a franchise when he was buying meat. It's Ulrich Nortier.
That's the old Nokia ring, isn't it?
I was going to say that. Rings a bell.
Yes, that's what the used to be the standard ring when you got your Nokia phone.
Yes, indeed.
So exciting first look for these England batsmen at Ulrich Nortier. He comes in, strong action and strong carry through to the cock. It's left alone by Root, who watched it all the way through, and it slapped into the gloves at head height. And 91 miles an hour straight away. This strong fellow again. It's just an easy run up, but a really strong body action in the delivery stride. He's quite front on, and really good follow through in his action. Good whip, and to cock. Almost, but wicketkeeper's got to love that when it slaps into the gloves. He looked like he's thinking, I mean, I wouldn't enjoy banging into those palms all day, but that could be what he's in for. This second one is defended by Root on the offside, on the back foot.
Yeah, you feel with Nortier and with Rabada earlier that de Kock could stand another 8 yards back and it'd still be thumping into his gloves at the moment, because he's having to sort of jerk his head out of the way, isn't he, as he takes it at more or less head height. He looks good at Anric. I like the look of him. 147 Ks, both those opening two balls.
The question will be, when it comes to his third and fourth spells, will he keep up the pace, I guess?
Yeah.
Big, strong coat hanger shoulders. He'll be like a bit of a filled out Andre Nell, perhaps, as he's trotting in now and releasing another thunderbolt, defended easily enough by Root out to point. Is that a fair comparison with those? You remember Andre Nell had very square shoulders, and of course Morkel had that too, but Morkel was stringier, kind of, taller
guy. Yeah, not very impressive, those figures, are they, in his tests against India? 0 for 101 for 79, but I guess pitches are a little bit different there.
Yes, I don't get much joy out of Indian pitches.
No, they're not. They're not the dead kind of pitches of the 70s, are they?
20 on his back. He banging this one in way high, and de Kock does really well. One-handed take at full stretch.
Is that a wide?
Well,
No.
Pretty close. Just
One for the over.
Mog says, did you just say there was a top-class batsman out there, Hendo? Bit early to call Denley that. Leah, on a similar subject, says, this is Denley's chance to become England's Pujara. On 0 for the first 50 balls, then accelerate. And 32-12 comes back and says, yes, seriously, quick, Nortje. Could be dangerous on this track.
Certainly could.
so de Kock is all the way back on the advertising strip, which I guess is sort of halfway back to the boundary, and he's going to take one at hip height that Root leaves alone outside off stump. Nortje with 5 dots so far. It's all been short, varying degrees of short, as we see Tom Harrison entertaining some young ladies up in perhaps some English wags.
Maybe that's his wife and kids.
Oh yeah, but sorry.
Just saying.
No, that's more plausible. Sorry, Tom. But
It's Christmas time. He's probably got the family out.
3 young ladies anyway that he's entered, and they're all in good spirits watching on as Nortje slightly wide of the crease. Oh, gets to the thick edge from Root, just past the diving gully, and speeds all the way down to third man.
4. Come on.
Oh, that was a cracking delivery. That was an absolutely brilliant. I mean, it really did zip the bounce there. And actually, you've got to say, Root's done reasonably well. I mean, it was just about catchable height. It was way to the left of the man at gully. But actually, even to get it down that low from the way that the ball reacted off the pitch then was quite skillful, I think, from Root. To be fair, 10 years in first-class cricket, says Nakul Pandey, finally gets his chance in tests on Boxing Day in his hometown and makes just 6 and grasses a catch. Cricket is harsh, eh? Poor Rassie van der Dussen. Yes, it is harsh. It is harsh at this level when you've got a pitch as interesting as this one. And bowlers as good as this. Greg Smith says, I've just discovered I'm a South African supporting England as a boycott stance to general test fan denigration by Cricket South Africa. Interesting.
Ooh. Pretorius continues. A good 5th stump channel left alone by Denley.
He looks like Chris Morris's slightly older or younger brother.
Yeah, he really does. I was just going to say that. There's times that he's confused when they've shown him in the changing rooms. I thought, why is Morris in the party? Oh no, that'll be DP, as perhaps he's called.
On that note that is brought up by Greg Smith says, I'll come back to it after this delivery.
Pretorius, with a little bit of shape away. Denley follows it with
that was a slow ball.
defence. No, that's just his pace. I think.
Oh shit! Sorry, I thought we were still watching the other dude.
No.
I was thinking 123. He's really dropped his pace.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah. Anyway, defended into the covers,
and he's like this. Well, he hasn't even had a beer yet. On that note, that piece that you sent me by Daniel Gallen, who's been on this programme, of course, in the past, about the Kolpak controversy, amongst other things, and South African cricket in general.
Pretorius on a good line. It's thick-edged along the ground by Denley. He'll get up a couple of runs at least. As Maharaj sprints back from point, they'll settle for 2. Denley to 3.
Yeah, really good article, I thought. Very comprehensive. In the Cricket Monthly, which is part of Cricinfo, isn't it? Some slightly longer form journalism. A really good piece, I thought. And it there's no real answers to the questions that are raised in that about South Africans coming over and playing, and the majority of them being white South Africans who are making a huge amount of money, or relatively speaking.
Pretorius in again on the stumps, and it's kept a bit low. Denley covered it, turned it to Rabada at mid-wicket.
Yes, there aren't any easy answers because people have to make a living, and they want to. If you haven't got the setup in South Africa that's going to support you for a whole year,
it comes down again to the bloody ICC, doesn't it? And equalising subsidisation around the world, which of course Fred would bullcat. But
well, I mean, there's that talk about this new one-day tournament, hasn't there, with 3, the big 3 and one other.
Back of a length defended Denley into the onside.
Which to me sounds like an absolutely ridiculous idea. Saurav Ganguly, hasn't it, has come up with this one.
Yeah, money for India.
Yeah, but how much more one-day cricket between these sort of teams do you want to watch? And I looked at some of the comments on that story on Facebook, and you see a lot of Indian fans are saying, "Oh, that'll be great," but I mean, the bigger picture is that actually you're denigrating a form of the game, and also you're just giving too much of one thing.
Yeah, and this one's defended on the back foot by Denley on the offside. A good end of a good over from Pretorius. 2 runs from it. 33 for 2.
Yeah, we're taking us from South Africa to what's going on in India as well, and various things like that. But yeah, I recommend going and reading that piece on the Cricket Monthly from Daniel Gallan, because that gives you a really good insight into the various problems that cricket has around the world. And someone's really got to grasp the nettle, haven't they? And they've got to sit down and think what's best for the long term of the game. At the moment, it's just short-term fixes and getting as much money as you can, which is kind of disappointing when you see and as absorbing a test match as this one is.
Well, you've got to grow the game, and
Yeah.
I guess the way to grow the game is as we found out with Afghanistan and Ireland, it's easier for new teams to come in short form cricket because they've got a better chance. The shorter form of the game, the better chance they've got of getting results.
Yeah, that's not an argument. I agree with that, but it's if you just sort of keep all the money within the sort of big 3, or even a big. I'm guessing from that article about the new tournament, it would be a different 4th team every time, wouldn't it? But I mean, it's still, it's almost like saying, "Oh, are you going to be lucky enough to come and play with the big 3 in our wonderful tournament?"
Welcome. We'll throw you a bone.
Yeah, I know. It really.
Oh, which reminds me, I should remind you, there's half an hour to go for the GPL. The GPL is 57 quid today. You can win that cash. All you have to do is go to guerrillacricket.com/competitions and follow the instructions.
Nortje continuing to root. He'll get some runs. He'll get 4 runs with a nice glide, a controlled glide through the gully region.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I think they've strengthened that area. There was chats with the bowler and captain there. I think they've put in just sort of 3 spread slips and 2 gullies. Is that right? There are 5 men all told in that behind square on the offside. Anyway, Root kept it down, but that's going to be Nortje's line of attack. There was only 2 slips in the gully previously when Root almost offered a catch, but Root is equal to the challenge.
Well, it's much like Kane Williamson, with that pace on the ball, just guide it down there. It's quite safe, isn't it?
This one's straighter and fuller. Root defends, and the short leg, who's quite deep, he will do the fielding. Nortje still living in the 90 mile an hour bracket, yeah, 91 that was, and I'm sure Joe Denley's pretty happy to be watching from the other end. He'll try and stay there all the way to lunch, you'd imagine.
Yeah,
leave it up to the senior man, the skipper.
I do like the idea of him being the England's new Pujara. That is that would be marvellous. I think we'd be very happy if Denley turns out to be the England Pujara. We have no problems with that whatsoever.
Root waits, bat raised, another full one which he defends with out of the meat of the bat. The bowler can't do the fielding, but Rabada runs round and prevents any run, keeping Root in the firing line.
Greg Smith says that Nortje, as we've been pronouncing him, is pronounced nearly like Nokia, so Nortje.
Yes, I think that's why the jingle had the Nokia jingle.
It's been a bit disappointing in T20s and ODIs. He's quick, but his control has been dismal. It will be interesting to see if he's better in tests. Well, he's doing okay so far.
Yeah, I'd heard that pronunciation. It's hard to compute N-O-R-T as a K, but we'll. And here's Nokia is in, and he's been cut by Root straight to backward point. Maharaj, yeah, so he's backward a point, and there's sort of 2 gullies, Elgar and another, and the 2 slips, Van der Dussen and Duplessis, are patrolling that umbrella area.
Well, they rotated their bowlers. They both had exactly 6 overs, didn't they? And these 2 guys, I presume, will roll through till lunch, and then you'll probably get Philander and Rabada again straight after.
Anrich is in, back of a length, defended, and Root's off for a quick single, well judged and easily attained to go to 15, and that good Rooty scoring rate. He's done it off 24 balls, not without alarm, but he certainly imposed a bit of calm after a frenetic start.
I think actually, as he grows into this innings, that Root will like a bit of Nokia, because if it seems as if he's adapted to try and play pretty much everything off the back foot. I think initially he was trying to come forward perhaps a little bit to balls that bounced off a good length. But he is very comfortable hanging back on that foot, and he plays so well, doesn't he, in that sort of arc from sort of gully round to cover.
Yeah.
Indeed. That's his scoring area, isn't it, really?
Yep.
So, real camera spotlight on Denley here. He has one ball to face from the speedster, and this hits him on the pad. They're asking, I think that's shooting down leg side. So does Paul Rifle, and I wouldn't imagine they'll discuss that any further. It's the end of the 16th over. England are 38 for 2. 15th over. And I will bid you a happy lunch.
You going to read tweets, or am I going to play a jingle?
You just play a jingle.
Yep. You owe us all right. You think this alternative cricket commentary stuff comes cheap? Well, we need some dollar bills to help pay our bills. So please, go to patreon.com/GorillaCricket and sign up to make a regular monthly donation. You know there's literally nothing like Gorilla Cricket's coverage, so don't be tight. Dip into your virtual pocket and throw some cash our way. See, Rihanna knows. Patreon.com/GorillaCricket.
That's right. Pay us what you want to do. Patreon.com/GorillaCricket. We're always looking for help.
In many
That's the
ways,
kind of
psychological.
thing we are, exactly. Dwayne Pretorius is starting his third over, and it just wobbles into Denny's plans. He meets it with the bat and forward defensive, goes out towards mid-wicket, and there is no run. 38 for 2 England. Denny's 3 of 41 deliveries, but he's still there, which is the important thing. We trail by 246. So we need 46 runs to avoid the follow-on, and Root is on 15 of 25.
Mog says, well, not Fred's not in, so it's clearly time to slander him and his crazy ideas. Absolutely. That's right. He says, hang on. I'll come back to the Mog's tweet on pronunciation in a moment.
Pretorius is up to the crease and bowls. It's very full, and Denley just plays it up to mid-on. There's no run. It's weird, isn't it? There's no pace from one end and extreme pace from the other.
Yeah. Yeah, he's... I don't know, Pretorius, he kind of rolls it a little bit,
Yeah, he
doesn't
does. Well, I mean, Philander kind of does, but it's effective.
I think he's got a higher arm, though, Philander. There's a little bit of roundness in his delivery, round-armedness in his delivery, I think, it's from time to time with Pretorius.
That's our friend Gladstone Small,
Was that Gladstone?
That was Gladstone. Defended by Denley, out to cover, and there's no run. I wonder if he's got his...
his Black Opal, isn't it called?
His tourism thing going off the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And if so, come and sponsor us.
Absolutely.
Knuckle Poundy says, Dwayne Pretorius played one game as an overseas player for Northampton, Worcestershire last year and made 111. Moeen was playing for Worcestershire and got so frustrated he ended up bowling medium pace. The Ganguly Super Series is such a blatant power grab, and Ganguly is backed by Mr. Srinivasan. Well, there you go.
Course.
But it's a shame to see ex-players doing that, isn't it?
It is indeed. Oh, that comes back a little bit off the seam, bit of a shorter length. Denley's back and just defends it back up the track, and there's no run. I think Denley would be happy to get through to lunch, wouldn't he? Doesn't. I mean, you got to. To be fair, you got to give him credit. He's got 3 of 41. And he doesn't look flustered by the fact that he's got no runs and he's been out there since the beginning.
No, I mean,
and that's the right way to play it. Really, there'll be chances later on if you stay there.
Yeah, well, that's
wear the bowlers out.
It's old-fashioned batting, isn't it?
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
cash in when the bowlers get a little bit tired and there's a few more bad balls around.
And England do have to get an innings lead. 38 for 2. And Pretorius is in, and Root's on the back foot and drives it out to cover, and there's no run.
Yeah, Mog says that's right. Knuckles not the only one who tries to pronounce things properly.
Yeah.
Benedict Cooked Bonzo MC says, I asked my South African friend how to pronounce Nortje, hoping it would be naughty. Unfortunately, he replied with something like Niertki. So there's any number of pronunciations, it would appear.
Well, Fela Quayo, as we call him, is Fetla Quayo or something, isn't it? There's a T sound in there, even though there's an L. Guided by Root between gully and third or second slip. I can't see how many slips they've got, but he's raced away to the boundary, and it's going to be 4 runs. Good on him. He's moving along quite nicely. Any of them will do.
Viraj comes back, Viraj Vagela, and says to Knuckle and to us, he says, yeah, how dare Ganguly try to provide competitive series for fans? Money will always be made of injuries. Well, that's true. Just to be honest, I mean, there is this argument that bilateral series are getting boring, bilateral one-day series are getting boring. I've seen that given as a point, and there is an element to that, I suppose. But if you're on a tour, isn't that what it's about? It's about playing one team over and over again and seeing if you can beat them. But if you have these, doesn't this detract from something like the World Cup or the World T20? And if you're having the World T20 pretty much every year or every 2 years, to me, you're just getting too much of the same teams playing each other.
And not only that, if you have an extra team in there and you make it competition, you're going to have more games, in which case it takes up a lot more time, doesn't it? And
they were talking about
it into everything else.
What were they talking about? A two-week competition, I think, which is basically what you'd had with the Champions League, wasn't it?
No, Champions Trophy was about
Champions
3.5
weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. But they got rid of that.
I suppose if you don't have T20s tagged on. Oh, that's a lovely shot. Good timing. Denley finally gets one out in the middle of the bat, creams it square, clipped beautifully out to the boundary. Gets himself 4 runs, and England move on to 46 for 2. That was a lovely shot. Certainly that fizzed off the bat, didn't it?
But it is interesting to see where they've got their short leg. He's just slightly backward of square there,
Yeah.
and that. You're not going to catch that because it's going too quickly. But
Unless your name's Taylor.
Unless your name's James Taylor, yeah. But even so, he's got to be slightly aware of that, really. I think with the pace of the bowler, it's probably going to be too quick for the man.
He hit
there.
that in the air, yeah. He'd be lucky to get caught there. That's into the ground, defended and by Denley. To that man at short leg is in the James Taylor slightly deep position. Probably about 10 yards back at short leg.
Moggs says none of the South African guys pronounce Felaqueo the same way. I've heard many different.
Felaqueo, I've heard.
Yeah, well, as long as you know who we're referring to.
Yeah,
that's the main thing, isn't it?
And you got, that's who's saying that. Michael Holding gets everywhere these days, doesn't he?
Michael Holding or Ian Bishop. There's a little cabal, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a cabal. Norche in again. Flash that by Denley on the back foot, trying to force that through the offside. That was a definite full stroke. 144 kph, 9 miles an hour, and it fizzed past the outside edge of Denley's bat through the keeper.
Well, I guess in a Test match where you've got Rabada playing for South Africa and Archer playing for England, who else would you want to commentate on it rather than Michael Holding?
Well, true.
There's a man who knows how to bowl quickly.
He certainly is.
Whispering death.
Well, Sean Pollock's next to him. He knew how to bowl quickly in his day.
Yeah, he wasn't express, was he? He was quick. He wasn't, he wasn't in the sort of Dale Steyn or more Alan Donald, really.
Norche in again and full and into the pads. That's a lovely shot again. Denley has taken his time to get himself in. He's cracked that through a wide, long mid-on, and there is no one back. And it's gone through the boundary, and suddenly Denley's in double figures, and he's on 11, and that's another 4 runs. 94 miles an hour, that ball.
There's not one boy for me. I must have 2 or 3. I need 4.
Yeah, quickest ball of the day, I think, that we've seen, but actually kind of nicely in the slot for him.
Yeah.
And if you just meet that with the full face of the bat, you've got to do that. You've got 4 runs just with the pace of the ball.
Absolutely. And that's England's 50 up. England get to 50 for 2, which is pretty good going, considering they were, 11 for 2?
Stratospheric compared to where they were.
Well, this is
the thing. It's about taking time in the middle. The trail by 234, as I said, South Africa got off to a reasonable start and got into the 70s before they lost their 3rd wicket. And at 11 for 2, England would have looked in trouble. But if you can stay out there, you're going to wear the bowlers down and opportunities will arise. As we all know, this is Test cricket. Knock you up and to the crease, and that's just blocked out towards the covers. And suddenly it all looks a bit easy for Denley as he gets himself another single, moves on to 12. 151 Ks that. Jesus Christ, that's like 95?
No, hang on, no. The one before that was quicker than that. The one before that was 154, I think.
Okay.
It's England have done well. I mean, en route, they've obviously got their really world-class batsmen out there.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, if Bairstow can bat as well, the next 4 batsmen are where all the runs are, aren't they?
Well, yeah. Bairstow's got a very good record in South Africa.
He has indeed. Not to go. And that's cut back. That's got to be close.
I think there's an inside edge there.
Do you think there's an inside edge? I thought that cut back quite sharply.
It seemed to come back a long way, which is why I thought there was probably something on that. It seemed to do too much, and in fact, Faf du Plessis is signalling that, I think, to his bowler. And they're not going to review that. So I think quite a thick inside edge there.
Okay, I missed that. I thought that jabbed sharply off the seam, but clearly not, and you were clearly right.
Well, it was a good ball. I think
Yeah.
it did a certain amount, but I think it also got the inside edge to make it sort of exaggerated. Andres Lou says, here we go, it's Norkia, and then a double E with an accent on the second E. How do you pronounce
Norkier.
that? Norkier. Yep. And Rebecca is replying to messages about something. Says fire them. I don't know what that's to do with.
Fire them.
That's Rebecca B52 goes fast. Knucklebandy says precisely to Viraj. India will always make money. Australia and England, don't need extra revenue streams. They're taking time out of the calendar and deliberately undermining the ICC's attempts to introduce a sensible global one-day international calendar. I think I pretty much agree with that.
Well, England taking time out of Canada. We hardly ever have any time off England, do we? We seem to be playing all the bloody time.
It's an excuse for elitism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Pretorius,
that's what it is.
Next ball is just left alone outside Denley's off stump. There's no one. I mean, I guess the problem is, England's got a population of 60 million or 60 odd million, and cricket is quite popular. You can only make so much money out of that. Australia's population is 20 odd million. It's very popular out there, but you can only make a certain amount of money out of that. India, most popular sport in the country, and they've got a population of 1.2 billion. I mean, they completely outweigh anybody else in capability of making money out of the sport. Defended out to cover, and there's no run.
Yeah, but you've got to weigh that up. I mean, you can't play cricket in isolation.
No, you can't.
India have got all these people who love cricket. But if you ended up with a situation where you only had 3 teams that could actually play professional cricket at any level, which is what could happen the way things are going, then wouldn't you just get bored with that?
Yeah, you would
duller and duller.
Yeah, it would get duller and duller.
Even if you're one of the 1.2 billion.
Well, Pretorius is up to the crease, nicely driven by Denley, but can't beat. Is that Rabada? No, it's not. That's Philander at mid-on, and you can't beat him, and there's no run. I mean, that's the problem. I don't want to offend any Indians here, but I think the BCCI is quite selfish in that respect. It wants all the money, and it thinks it thinks it deserves all the money because that's where the sport is. And true, they got the IPL, and that makes shitloads of money. But in terms of international cricket, if you just want to be, insular. Pretorius is in, nicely clipped again by Denley. I think that's going to make it to the boundary. It's a pretty quick outfield. It does indeed. Misses mid-wicket and races away to the boundary pass for Barder for 4 runs. It was aerial for a while, wasn't it?
I mean, I think it's great. I mean, it's great in a way that, cricket has got such a populous country as India massively interested in cricket and fanatical about it. It's a great thing, because if it didn't have that, the numbers that will be engrossed by cricket will be obviously
much less.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got to be a bit more socialist about how it deals with the cash, though. It's got to realise that for all its cash counter, so it's left alone by Denley through the keeper and no run. In order for the cash cow to continue, they've got to share a bit of the wealth to keep everyone else interested. Otherwise, as you say, it's just going to become the teams that can afford to pay.
And that's not.
And that's not how it should work.
Well, it's not just about and we're not even talking about Test cricket here. And there are people in the cricket fraternity who wouldn't mind Test cricket going to the Dogs. I'm sure.
But you still need other teams to play against.
Yeah.
Left alone outside the off stump, there's no run. I mean, you think of the teams on the subcontinent. Pakistan finally starting to play at home again. I imagine they'll start to make some more money at home. Bangladesh, massive cricket-loving nation, and Sri Lanka. I mean, Sri Lanka in all sorts of trouble. Ireland, then they haven't got a broadcast partner for the Ireland Test, which is really sad for Ireland.
Oh, yeah,
and Ireland haven't got enough money to put on a test at home. And these things should be subsidised. If you want these, it's only a 5-day test. Surely the ICC can subsidise Ireland to the fact that they can afford to put on that test match.
Yeah.
So that the sport can grow.
Yeah, probably has to go through about 8 committees. Though,
yeah,
before,
exactly.
But I mean, that's absolutely right. And I don't even understand. I mean, it was news to me that you couldn't have a test series if you didn't have a broadcast partner. I mean, why impose?
Well, you can, but I guess they lose money in that. If you don't have a broadcast partner, you don't make advertising revenue, and therefore you don't get the revenue in to cover the cost of putting a thing on. But that needs to be subsidised by somebody. If you want more teams to play, it's a nice shot by Denley. Root, as he drove square through the offside. He'll get himself back for 2. As Notkia continues. That's what I'm going to call him.
But it's not the ICC who have imposed that on teams, haven't they? I mean,
well, the ICC is not strong enough against the BCCI, but then the ICC is generally headed up by Indians as well. So they're kind of, and it is, as we've always known, a private company. It's not. It's like FIFA. It's run for the benefit of the sport, and it's run by the top of the sport. The head of the ICC is an Indian, I believe. A lot of the border Indians. So that's defended up to mid-on by Root, and there's no run.
Grubby's on. He says, "Did Hendo say Holding wasn't that quick?" No, I didn't. He says, "Tell Boyks that." No, I certainly didn't say that.
You said Pollock wasn't that quick.
I said Pollock wasn't that quick. On Nortia and Southey, says Elixir of Azazel. Polar opposites. Very good. Very good. Viraj is not letting this one go. He says, "How does one series affect the global ODI calendar? This is not a tournament. It's like a tri-series. Well, it's a quad series, isn't it? And an idea seems entertaining one to fans seeing top teams play. Yes, it is, but."
Notker is in, and it's short.
But surely
Then
that's
he
the
pulls
small
out- Root
picture
pulls
rather
out
than the
away,
big
no run.
picture.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's the problem, isn't it?
I think perhaps we don't understand how much all these teams have got to travel. They've got to be put up in different cities. They've got to be moving around, sort of every couple of days to play in these tournaments. It's going to involve 4 teams, so you're presumably going to play at least 3 matches plus a final, or even a series of 3. Who knows, as a final. So you're probably going to be playing 4, 5, 6 games, which means that you can't really have 2 one-day internationals. You can only have them really within 2 or 3 days of each other, can't you?
Yeah. Not to get in, nicely clipped again. They've strengthened that leg side. Who's that? That's
Markram, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Markram. I thought he busted his finger up, someone said.
No, he broke his wrist, or he fractured his wrist punching the dressing room door when he was out for a pair in India, because he didn't. He should have reviewed, and he didn't on the second innings.
He's in a square leg anyway.
Discovered that when he got off, he discovered that he shouldn't have actually been out, and so he put his fist through the door.
So I think he's going to bowl full and pretty straight here, because he's got forward shortish square leg and a wider one, and then it's a double bluff because that's short and into the pitch. I might have caught Root's shoulder and nearly got over the head of the cock, but it didn't.
Viraj, I don't think it affects the global one-day international calendar. I just think it's just another thing to be sort of thrust into a pretty crowded calendar anyway. When you think that the amount that a lot of these guys play now, and with all the travel,
and also you've got all the worldwide tournaments as well, which take up time and take up players too. I mean, the IPL takes up 6 weeks at that period. I mean, fortunately, that's kind of a period when no one's playing at the start of the English season. Root on the back foot, last ball of the over, Nokia, and he's defended back down the track. There's no run. Yeah,
actually, one thing I did miss in that story was when exactly they were planning to play that. What time of the year? You're saying it just sort of before the IPL? Is that when they were thinking of scheduling it?
I don't know when it's going to be scheduled.
Maybe someone will know exactly when it was planned. Ravi Nair, he's joined us, and Gorilla South Africa. He's been with our friends in Joburg. None of the UK guys pronounce Jadeja at all. Usually Jadeda, or even once, I swear, Dadada. But my favourite is the Bish on Indian names off Crick Tracker. Karmukar for Kamika, Kurmukar. Well, there you go. Mark says, I don't know. Australia seemed pretty smug and happy when the side won 1,600 games in a row. Change of bowling. Bit of spin, John. A little bit of spin.
Token spin.
Yeah. Is it just the one over before lunch?
No, I think they're trying to get another over into the other end. So there's about 6 minutes left. And
there's a bowler there from South Africa. Started up bowling pace, but he made the switch. I wonder why, but he's known as Keshav.
I don't think I've heard that one before.
I don't think I have either.
Very tuneful.
Well, he's going to get one over before lunch, and he's bowling at Denley, who just defends that up towards mid-on. Mid-wicket comes around, probably a Rabada in fields, and there is no run. Is that second ball?
Yeah.
Defended. Back down the track, there's no run. No, I don't know when it would be. I mean, there are dry spells in the calendar, probably sort of, I don't know, February, March, aren't there? And there's another dry spell somewhere in the winter, either October-ish time or November, depending. Defended out into the offside, and there is no run. Depends where you want to play it. I mean, you couldn't play it in England in any of those situations. Is it always going to be in India?
I presume that's what they're
it's
talking about.
It's either got to be in India or somewhere in the southern hemisphere or the subcontinent. It would, you know, you couldn't do it in English time, so we'd always be away. That's defended up to mid-on. There's no run.
Well, you have to find another name for it as well, don't you? I mean, what are you going to call it? The Indian Quadrangular Tournament.
The Cement.
Sponsored by...
Cement.
Cement,
It'll be the Cement Quadrangle Series. Defended. And Maharaj fields off his own bowling. No run.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, every now and again I get a little bit bored with cricket. I think there is so much now you can see, you know. I mean,
yeah, especially certain formats. I mean, even a World Cup, you could see most games panning out as they panned out. There were some, I mean, I was at a lot of them, as you know, and you watched a lot on telly, but even being at the ground, sometimes you just get bored. Defended back down the track, and there's no run, because you could see the result happening before it got exciting almost. You know, in the first innings, too many runs are scored, second innings, too many wickets fell, and you knew where the game was going, and it just panned out as it did, and you had to stay there till the end.
Well, I think that's true of all sport, isn't it? I mean, every time you go to a game of any sort, you're expecting a close finish or a good game, but I mean, how many games are really enthralling from beginning to end? I mean, you know, probably 1 in 5, something like that.
I mean, I guess football lends itself to that fact. It's quite a low-scoring sport, isn't it? You know, you can be 1-0 up, and going into the 90th minute is always a chance of getting an equaliser. But in cricket, it can swing quite quickly. Even in T20s, you can see.
Oh yeah.
But that would be part of the argument for holding this thing, wouldn't it? That if you hold a tournament between the elite, you're going to get games which are less one-sided, and that's what they would use to justify it.
They would, I suppose. Defended by Root, square on the offside. There is no one in at point, so it goes all the way out to the man at deep point, and they'll get themselves a single.
But I don't think that is necessarily borne out. If you look at the actual results in all sorts of, well, certainly in one-day cricket of various sorts, you often get games that are even between elite teams. You know, you look at it and say, "Oh, that wasn't very good, was it?" One team just dominates the other.
No, I agree, but I think if you're looking to justify it, you would probably say that.
I mean, that's decent, full and quick by Nortke. And defended by Denley up to mid-on. There's no run for Landerfield. Yeah, I mean, you look, okay, semi-finals and final of the World Cup, 2 good games. One, I mean, Australia got thumped by England, didn't they? I mean, it was over by 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, even, I mean, actually, I even look at the World Cup, and World Cup final, and I even remember saying at the time that it wasn't that great a game until quite close to the end. I mean, it was a stodgy pitch, wasn't it? It wasn't an easy pitch to score on. You know, England were just almost up with the rate.
Nokia in short, over the top of Denley as he ducks underneath through the keeper, and there's no run.
I think the late drama of that game actually covered the fact, or sort of overshadowed the fact that a lot of that game was actually quite hard going.
Yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't easy to score, was it?
No, exactly.
I mean, it got interesting in the last 10 overs.
Yeah,
England's
exactly.
innings,
that's my point.
Because then you thought, oh, England. You know, I think when New Zealand got, what did they get, 240 or something like that, 230 odd?
Yeah.
And you thought, oh, England are going to get that. And then it was obvious it wasn't that easy to score. And then England were behind it, and you thought, oh shit, we're going to lose it. And then it kind of got tight. Nokia in and reasonably full, straight, and Denny just knocks that out to wide mid-on. Philander has to go around the field, allow him to get through for a single. He moves on to 17, Root's 22. England have moved on to 59 for 2, which I think they'll be quite happy with after the start they had.
Oh, absolutely.
Getting through to lunch without the fall of another wicket. All they've got to do is come out after lunch and make sure they don't lose a quick wicket after.
Well, there are runs out there, aren't there? There are runs.
And the outfield's quick.
The outfield's quick. The ball's coming onto the bat. I mean, it's just that whether you get one of those really good balls from one of the top-class bowlers that's got your name on it, really.
Well, how many overs have we had now? it must be up to nearly 20 overs. Ball is starting to be getting soft. It is a kookaburra after all. Left alone outside the off stump by Root through to the keeper, and there's no run.
Evil Scooter says, the longer I think about it, the harder it is to avoid reaching the conclusion that the best thing for world cricket would be for India to be split, like the home nations, into 4 to 5 different cricketing nations. Well, I mean, actually, there was something that we ended up nearly doing last year, but it was covered, the Street Child World Cup.
Yeah.
That was divided into North and South India. So I don't know whether that's a way to go, or that would be sort of...
I think the other thing that has been talked about for a while, as Nautica is in, and it's defended by Root square again, points deep, and they'll get through for a single. I think the other thing is to have some sort of form of cricket in the Olympics, which will open it up to a lot more teams, because they all get... once a sport is in the Olympics, you get some funding from the central IOC pot.
Yes.
Which allows a lot more teams. I mean, China often said that, they could probably put a cricket team together. They've got a bloody big population. Give them some money, and I'm sure they'll find a way to make something happen. Well, that's the end of the session. 22.5 overs bowled, 67 runs, 3 wickets. Obviously, the last one was South African. Philander was out. Not troubling the scores too much this morning. Got a 4, didn't he? And that was about it. And he was caught behind. England came out, and Roy Burns survived and appeared off the first ball, which was given out, and he reviewed it, and it was overturned, but he didn't last much longer than that. He got 9 runs, I think, and then got a little feather off his glove through the keeper, walked off. Sibley was out not long after that. Carved one nicely to the boundary on the leg side. He once again defended the ball. Maybe he shouldn't.
I think you're being really harsh there, because I think you're playing a ball. I think John made the point. The line was really good. The line was superb, and it fizzed off a length. You're coming forward, and the ball does that, and it just flicks the shoulder of the bat.
Maybe
to be playing it.
Maybe we're just down on Sibley.
I think you are. I think we are. And I mean, I've not been impressed by what I've seen of him, but I think you look at that and you say, well, that would have got most batsmen out, to be honest.
Yeah, that was
was
a stinker.
Yeah, I think
it was.
That
was a stinker of a ball to play.
Well, I'm a harsh judge. 60 for 2. England get to lunch. 21 overs bowled by South Africa. They'll be reasonably happy, I think, from where they started to get to 60 for 2. The ball will be getting softer. They've got through spells from all the bowlers now, and they know what they'll be up to. The wicket is starting to get a little bit capricious already, and after the morning session of day 2 there's a bit of up and down. England definitely need to get a lead on this first innings, and then anything can happen. I've got money on England to win.
Have you? What odds?
I got 13 to 8 yesterday.
Okay. Well, I think
it'll be longer now.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't know. Let's
I'm
have a
not
look.
sure. 60 for 2, I think.
60 for 2, I think it would have come in. I think 11 for 2 it would have gone out, and that's 16 for 2, 60 for 2 it would have come in. Ooh, Nick Shillingford's joined us on Patreon. Thank you very much, Nick. You get undying gratitude.
Good. So that's a $10
match winner.
one.
South Africa favourite, 6 to 5 on. England are 5 to 4. So it has England.
Yeah, they have shortened a bit.
They've shortened a bit.
Again, I think it's going to be a really interesting first 45 minutes after lunch.
Yeah, I think that's crucial, isn't it?
Philander and presumably Rabada are going to have another blow.
Yeah.
And Philander might even go for a run. In the second session.
If you get through that, there's 30 overs gone.
Yes.
The
absolutely.
The ball is a lot softer then.
Yeah, and you could lose, but you could lose 2 wickets, and then again,
you're right in the soup. Yeah,
absolutely, I think it's fantastically poised as a game, and I'm absolutely transfixed by it. I'll just do some tweets and then we'll put some highlights on. Nakalpani comes back again on this question of the India tournament. It says a 4-team, 2-week tournament every 2 years, with only 3 boards able to get any money from hosting rights. The current ICC top brass are, to their credit, trying to spread the wealth a bit, but the fact remains that the ICC is a members club and not a governing body, which is, shouldn't have come to that, should it? Really, but we seemingly don't know. I'm guessing if Nakal knew when it's planned or when it's been scheduled for. He doesn't know that, so presumably it's not known at the moment. Andres Lure says Nortje is like Kronya. Okay, so that's the pronunciation of the y. Mog says, pretty sure whatever format it might take, India will be overwhelmingly favoured, whether that's as a team to win the game or win the games or the tournament, or as opposed to financially. A question for you and your very loyal listener, says Martin Lawrence. The 2 test matches currently being played are the last 2 games of the decade. Who is your favourite player in the last 10 years? Well, I'll tell you what. We'll leave you to ponder
Mull
that
over
over
that.
lunch. But I will give you a few more tweets before the end. So if you can think over the lunch break, who is your favourite player of the last 10 years? I'll have a think about that one as well. Oh, it's nearly time for pies. Greg Smith says, 2 wickets. Lost by lunch, England gets my tick. Won that battle, weathered the storm, hashtag. Andres Lowe says, if you monopolise games for the elite countries, you will lose interest in other countries. Look what Japan playing in Rugby World Cup did for rugby. Inclusion is the way to go. Knuckle Panty makes a very good point. He says, Western administrators splitting up India into various parts tends not to end very well.
True, but they're doing it themselves at the moment, to be fair.
Tony Bishop is sitting with a glass of wine and what looks like a very large basset hound next to him. And he says, I shall be leaving you at lunchtime to walk Daisy here along the beach. Heart of gold, but built like Dwayne Leverock. Yeah. She
Needs her exercise,
she's
yeah?
Pretty, well, some would say the same.
He's on the coast. Whereabouts on the coast?
He's somewhere up north, very, very north.
Oh,
very,
God.
very north.
Northeast coast?
Yeah,
That'd be
might be
windy
a bit
and cold.
chilly up there, mightn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so Bear, if you want to find us some highlights or some podcasts to put on, we'll take a break and make some pies. It's a very nice picture there, Tony. He looks like a very happy man. He doesn't look like he'd be rather here doing commentary, and Daisy is getting a well-earned tickle of the tummy from Tony Bishop. So lucky old Daisy. What are you going to play us then, Bear?
Well, it's lunchtime. I've played the other podcast that we've done recently, which is the Paul Smith interview. This was done. Paul Smith has used to play. Got the triple, didn't he, with Warwickshire back in the 90s. Was a fated player. We shall give you Tony Bish doing his interview with him, which he did a week or so ago. Enjoy this. It's very interesting. If it's going to play. Come on, you fucking stupid machine. Jesus Christ. Sorry about this, people. Bloody machines.
Share. It's common form to start interviews with cricketers with some career statistics. Let me assure you that today I'm with a former player who has some very good ones as part of the all-conquering Warwickshire side of the 1990s under Bob Woolman. However, he holds the US Certificate of Appreciation for his groundbreaking work using cricket as a force for good with the gangs in the most notorious areas of Los Angeles. He advises the Prince's Trust is a motivational speaker and broadcaster and published author whose book, Wasted, was described by one reviewer thus: not so much a kiss and tell as kiss, have casual sex, get stoned, drunk, divorced, unemployed, homeless, penniless, and then tell. Although written 12 years ago, it is a rattling good read, but it also contains thought-provoking wisdom born out of experience. Life says its author is a work in progress. Life gave its author a second chance, which he continues to grab. Paul Smith.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for hosting us today, because we are here at Edgbaston in your room. So I'm welcoming you to our show. You are, in fact, our host. So
welcome to my room.
Welcome to your room. Now, one of the themes that you recurs throughout the book is around confidence and purpose. You say it's something that you need in all aspects of life. Tell us just a little bit in your way of thinking about life and cricket, why you focused on so much on those two thoughts in the book.
Confidence and purpose. Well, from a sports perspective, that when you're confident and you understand your purpose, then that's probably when you'll get your best results, or it's certainly when you'll be able to analyse how things are going, and either put them right. You'll be able to put them right better if you have those two things, and if you're lacking in them, then you need to grasp them fairly quickly in order to turn that corner. I think in everyday life, the people that I've met who've lacked confidence and purpose needed the most guidance. Often that's the excluded. They could be of all age groups, and sometimes people driving around in the best cars, wearing the best suits, also lack confidence and purpose. So I think it's about identifying what you think your purpose is, what you think you can do to take things forward, and will make you and those around you more confident, and that would lead to a better future all round.
It's one of the things that, given the work you've done linked to cricket but imparting cricket, that I wanted to sort of talk to you about was, how do you think it comes to light in your activities now, and particularly how do you impart that to others?
If you talk about you talk about community work, and I think the more that you can give confidence to people, often people know what they actually want to do, but no one's actually sort of planted that seed in them that they actually can achieve that. And often the system will try and funnel you down the same places that everyone else is, because that ultimately comes down to figures. So if I were to turn around to you and say, right, I want you to go and work in an office for the rest of your life down the road, you'll be there from 9:15 in the morning till 5:15. In many cases, I know that situation has been forced upon people because that's all about employment figures, when in fact I know that within 3 days they're going to be ringing me saying, this is the last thing on earth I think that I'm going to be able to do. So I would always say, don't put yourself in a situation where you know it's not going to work. I would always say, hang on a bit longer and try and find the opening that you're actually is going to fulfill you. It leads to a happier society.
So are you finding now that are you still involved in people development with cricket as the core of kind of your doing that, or have you moved beyond cricket just to where people development is the kind of the main raison d'etre for what you do?
I would probably in the last couple of years I've been more of an advisor, than a hands-on one. I'll give you an example of that. In the west end of Newcastle, my city of my birth, I've got a pal who has done amazing work for the best part of 40 years within the community, most of it not really acknowledged. However, in more recent times he's been involved with Chance to Shine right at the top. He wanted to put on an activity where it involved asylum seekers, the children of asylum seekers. It involved young kids who've got too much time on their hands. Too much time is being taken up by police officers, community workers, the court systems, etc., etc. So it's costing the city of Newcastle an absolute fortune. And he picked my brains about work that I'd done in townships in Soweto, and townships such as Soweto under apartheid, and then how
further down the road, say Bob Woolmer and I did a lot of work in townships during the dismantling of apartheid. So the art of communication, it wasn't just about bat and ball, it was about gaining confidence. It was about getting people to think differently, and where the outcomes had to be different. If you talk about working in places like Compton or South Central or Inglewood or Watson, places in the States, ultimately you're not looking to turn someone into the next Freddie Flintoff or Ian Botham, or obviously there's more recent versions of those guys. It's not about turning them into that would be a real bonus. It's about getting people to change their behaviour. So in the northeast of England, a guy called Russell Perry picked my brains. What have the outcomes got to be? I told him, if you want these outcomes, this is the sort of funding that you have to seek. You're not going to get sporting funding for it, because that's not what the initial target is going to be. Over a 2-year period, he's completely transformed a community in the West End of Newcastle where you're probably saving millions in court costs, etc., etc., etc. And in more recent times, Chance to Shine have jumped on the back of that. So it'll be seen to be a Chance to Shine project, but in theory, the guy that's actually done all the work is a guy called Russell Perry. So that's just one example.
Did it have a cricket connection prior to your involvement in terms of a project, or is it a community project that has embraced cricket along the way?
There was no project. There was no activity going on. He identified a part of the city where you would repeatedly read and hear about some pretty negative activity taking place, and he picked my brains as to whether I thought that was the sort of, because we know the city well, whether that was the sort of place where maybe some sort of activity should take place. So between the pair of us, we worked out what could take place, and then he did all the footwork himself. And as activities gain some sort of momentum, then what happens is, if you get a few people coming this week, then hopefully if you can get, it's about giving people a good time, making them understand that you are there for them, and maybe they'll bring a few more mates next week, and then maybe they'll bring a few more. You'll lose a few along the way, but by and large, what you do is you gain the confidence of people within that community. People will become aware of the fact that these young people are not involved in acts of crime as they were up until relatively recent. That will then attract the attention of police forces, because they'll see that whatever's taking place is starting to work. You then get parents actually supporting it because they can see that their kids are not getting into trouble, and before you know it, within maybe 12 months, within 2 years, you've actually got a real hive of activity, and hopefully it's acknowledged, and thankfully for Russell it has been acknowledged.
Yeah, one of the things you talk a lot about in the book is how cricket as a game offers many opportunities to teach people skills that go way beyond cricket. I mean, you cite the example of simply communication skills and trust if you're two batsmen working together, and that seems to have been a consistent theme for your work in the UK with the Prince's Trust, and when you went to Los Angeles and worked in sort of, as you say, into Compton, Inglewood and South Central, and some of the Crips gang, the worst gangs out there. What is it, do you think, that uniquely enables cricket to have that capacity?
Well, cricket will teach you how to work in pairs. It'll teach you how to understand team strategy. It'll improve maths. It'll teach. In life, lots of people look, but not many people see. With sport, or particularly cricket, it's very visual, and it's easy. If you're smart, you can teach people a lot just by saying, watch this, watch that. It makes people more observant. Cricket has so many, there's so much more to it than bat and ball. It teaches people patience. I think the key, if you talk about community activities, and you talk about people who, in this day and age where most people are used to being able to get results in the, with the blink of an eye, mobile phones or computers being a classic example. You Google something, the assumption is the answer is that it's absolutely correct. The thing with cricket is you can do absolutely everything right and still not get the results, and that actually teaches young people an awful lot.
Kind of fortitude and...
Well, resilience. Resilience is hugely important. The fact that the game lasts as long as it does sometimes is a disadvantage in the modern world where everyone wants results in split seconds. However, it means that you are engaged with teammates and opponents for far longer, and there's many success stories. It gives you longer. The longer you spend together, hopefully the longer the bond is, the better the bond is.
The type of skill or coach that it takes to do that is not the traditional going into a public school and teaching cricket. It takes a different set of skills. Given that vision for the ability of cricket to impact those kind of communities and be that force for good and actually to turn lives around, what do you think differentiates someone best to communicate that from a typical cricket coach?
Well, a classic example. Well, it's not a classic example. If you think about Bob Woolmer, when he was coach here, he asked me to go to a cricket club in South Africa called St. Augustine's. St. Augustine's is Basil D'Oliveira's cricket club in Cape Town. In their whole existence, they'd never been allowed to play against white teams, which is why Basil came across here, to give himself an even chance of being able to progress as a sportsman and hopefully being able to go further up the ladder, which he did obviously by playing cricket for England. But Bob Woolmer said to me, I want you to come to Cape Town, a city I'd been to many times. I want you to come to Cape Town. I want you to be the professional for a team called St. Augustine's, and your job is to move the club, but more importantly the community forward. It's about much more than bat and ball and how many runs or wickets that you actually get. And at 6 months after I'd agreed to do that, at the end of that summer, he and I sat down in his garden, and I asked him why he'd asked me specifically to go and do that job, and he said because he knew how difficult it was going to be, because all my teammates, I used to be racially abused for being white, playing in a team of non-white people.
Am I right in saying you were the first, or indeed the only, white player to play for that club?
Yeah, I was the first white player ever to play for St. Augustine's, the first ever professional, and it was a hard gig. I mean, great people, great friendships to this day. We keep in touch all the time. I think probably it's become more apparent the work that was actually taking place then, without sort of pulling my own wire. It was arguably the biggest opening of my eyes that I'd ever seen, and I thought I'd seen a lot. I'd coached in South Africa in townships under apartheid, but this was actually the dismantling of it, where I would be racially abused by white people on the field asking me why I was playing in a team full of coloured people. What that actually did with me and my teammates is it made us grow stronger and stronger by the day. And if you were to speak to people at the club now in 2019, you'd actually get a fair indication of what we'd gone through. But these people, had never been able to go into certain parts of town because they weren't the right colour. When we played cricket at Newlands, it was a pretty humbling experience for them because they'd never been able to go to the ground at Newlands and set foot on it. And I saw firsthand in our changing room what this was all about. It was a pretty humbling experience. So in many ways, my job was to go and run up and hit as many opponents as hard as I could with a cricket ball for what had taken place over generations, as it was to try and pull off as many results. But we couldn't play any of our games at home because the council, which was still a white council, They refused to cut the grass on the ground, despite the fact it was a council ground. There was a dispute going on, and it didn't matter how many meetings or how many phone calls that got put in. It was just never going to happen. So we had to play all our games away from home. So when you've gone through all those sorts of experiences, and people talk about trivial things that take place within sport, what you're actually doing is you're actually changing a culture. So how cricket transcends into everyday life and how you can change people's lives, that's be a classic example that hopefully will be broadcast a bit more further down the line.
Fantastic. So, well, let's talk a little bit about your career then, and some of the influences. You've just been talking about Bob Woolmer,
sure.
And in Wasted, you talk about influences on your career. You speak in glowing terms of him. Obviously, a very, very sad loss under terrible circumstances. Tell us a little bit about the man then, and how he influenced you, and kind of led you through the ups and downs of life generally, not just cricket.
Sure. I actually coached with Wooly in Johannesburg when I was an 18-year-old kid. He was very, very close to Dr. Ali Bakr, and Bakr was trying to break down as many barriers as possible. So that would mean coaching in Soweto. So I would coach in Soweto. Bob would be up seeing Dr. Ali Bakr, and he would come into Soweto. Further down the line, I reminded Bob that I had coached with him in Soweto, and he said, yeah, I remember, you were an 18-year-old who was always out on the town drinking beer and this, that and the other. So that was my immediate impression with Bob. Probably when we met further down the line and he came to Warwickshire, he probably thought I was just a slightly older version of what he'd thought I was when I was 18. Bob's impact here at Edgbaston was massive. When he first came, on his very first day, he said, if I can make you 5% better people, you'll become better cricketers. And I remember sitting in that meeting and thinking, that's a really interesting way of sort of putting something across. He always thought outside the box. He would always be curious as to how we could do things that opponents wouldn't spot, or if they had spotted it, it was too late. We were already all over them. He always encouraged you to develop different skills, to be better at the ones that you had. It was always important to him not only just to practice the things that you were trying to improve on, but to continually practice the things that you were very good at, so that when you did something well, you knew why you'd done it well. And obviously at the same time you're trying to improve on your weaknesses, and over time, if you practice enough and you give it enough thought, you'll be a much more dominant player.
So he coached you through that. It was 94 treble season, I think. Was it 95 double season as well?
Well, he came in 1991, and I'm pretty sure he left at the end of 1994 to become the South African coach. In 95, Phil Neal was a coach here, and we did a double. But I mean, in theory, we were such a dominant group of people. Never mind a dominant group of players. Between 91 and in the end of 94, that journey, that was 4 summers that he was here. Physically and mentally, it was probably the equivalent of 8 summers, because of everything that actually went on. We trained harder than anyone else. Obviously, the more successful you become, the more time you actually spend on the field or practicing before those big games, and the greater demands of you as a person, that eats into your social life, because the more successful you become, the more demands there are on you as a person to attend functions and celebrations and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's again something that I think is quite interesting, because you kind of, it's almost as if, if you paraphrase or the tremolos, even the bad times are good. It's almost like even the good times can be bad, because one of the things you do talk about is so much demand the intensity of playing the game, the demands on your personal time if it isn't playing its club business, and almost that sense of untouchability and invincibility that works against where you go when that stops, that leaves you at a point, when the career folds down. It kind of led you for a while in your life, didn't it, into probably potentially sense of lacking direction and feeling kind of a little bit bereft for what you'd lost, as it were.
I think when I came here as a young kid, maybe naively, I looked at what I was watching, and obviously you had Willis, you had Calacharan, you had Uramuses, you had some fantastic players who were floating around. What you actually had was a, bear in mind this is a 14-year-old kid thinking this. I thought that there could be, I didn't understand why the team didn't win more. And then the more you watch, the more maybe you understand the fact that the reason that the team didn't win as much is, I'm not saying there's a split camp, but you've got batters who think one thing and you've got bowlers that think another. I remember distinctly, much as the same as when I met Willis when I was 9, and I think I want to play in the same team as you. I remember distinctly, before I signed my very first contract here, thinking that by the time I leave here, I want to have helped turn things around so that it was a dominant force. And by the time I was 30, we'd actually done that. And where you actually go from there is quite an interesting. It's quite an interesting stage of your life when you've actually set out to achieve. If you're Jimmy Page and you put 3 guys together with you and you form a band called Led Zeppelin, once you've actually achieved what you've done, where do you go from there? And then Bob went, and I think that was pivotal, because everything changed. Despite the fact that he would always take your calls, he'd always reply to emails and whatever, life goes on. And within a very short period of time, I found my eyes drifting off. I wanted to go to America. It was a completely different part of America I wanted to go to. I wanted to go and spend time in Texas, which I ultimately did. But yeah, I mean, I think now in 2019, how players are looked after is probably very, very different to what it was in the in the latter stages of my career. Whether it's done correctly now in 2019, I don't know. Things like a players' union advise on things like that. Whether they do it right or wrong is open for debate as well.
That again is one of the things I wanted to sort of chat to you about. Is in the November issue, I think, of the Cricketer, you wrote the open letter to Alex Hales, and you were very encouraging, whilst also chastising to a degree, but encouraging, pointing him in directions of ways he could move himself forward. It wasn't critical; it was understanding, empathetic, but also directional in terms of ways he could address that. Has he responded in any way to that article, just out of interest? And you may not want to answer that. You may want to keep that between you if he has, but I'm curious to know.
I haven't heard anything from Alex Hales. I wouldn't expect to hear anything from Alex Hales. I'm not the easiest person to get hold of, to be fair. Although certain people at Notts who are affiliated with Notts, I've had a couple of people contact me from them, but they're not necessarily named people within their system. I think ultimately what happened with him, with me, I think that if you, how can I put it? If you have someone sat in front of you that you know there are issues in their life, I think it's absolutely crucial to be able to relate to them. You see, I deal with life experiences. I would always deal with the person who sat in front of me. I'm not saying you're trying to play the role of a psychologist, but if you have been in a position where your job is a very public one, you have a lot of people who would want to attach themselves to you because you are a well-known person. You may spend a lot of time on TV. You may be a personality of such. If you are an outgoing person, Sometimes the temptations that are all around us are right, literally put in the palm of your hand. So he'd obviously fallen into a certain sort of situation in his life where within professional sport it's seen to be the antichrist, despite the fact that there are people from every walk of life who are doing exactly the same things. I wrote that article in the manner that I did in open letter form to Alex Hales, because if anything it would open up a way of thought for a reader. I mean, the easiest thing for Alex Hales and someone like myself to have a conversation is for someone to pick up a phone. What I was actually saying is, I've been there, done that. If you keep doing things the same way that you always have, the same situations will always keep arising. Where you say, the people that you surround yourself with can make or break your career, and the people that judge you within the sport, they don't really want you around too much, because they talk about sponsors, they talk about this, they talk about partners and whatever. When in theory, without the likes of Alex Hales, you might not have sponsors, you might not have this, that and the other. You talk about a very disruptive person on the field. We're not all the same. Ian Botham used to say, you can't expect me to go home to my hotel room and wrap myself up in cotton wool when you see the way that, well, that is, there's huge amounts of truth in that. So that's why I wrote it in the manner that I did. I could have written it in a completely different way, which would maybe not have the same impact.
One of the things that I'd say quite impressed me about it was very, what's the word, the right word, kind of collegiate. So it wasn't, as I say, critical in any way. You actually named people, like the coach who's going to be, is it the Notts Outlaws? No, whatever they're calling 100 outfit in Trent Bridge. You pointed him in the direction of people you knew he would, Stephen Fleming, who had trodden a similar path or had similar issues, because you knew the opportunity would be there. It was almost as if he had come to you and if he had said, I could do with a bit of help, it's almost as he asked you that question, because it was very practical help you were giving him. It wasn't just theory. You were saying, talk to this guy, talk to that guy, here is an opportunity. And it was just very encouraging. That's what I thought. It was quite a warm article to read, because the criticism was there, but giving him the tools with which to set himself on the right course was also there. And I thought that was quite powerful, the way it was done, to be honest.
But you see, to me, that's quite obvious. But then you're talking to someone who has seen certain things in life. So a certain type of person, at times in life when someone has done wrong, they get a figure of authority put in front of them. There is a discussion that takes place where the person in authority thinks that they're coming from the right angle, when in fact they're probably the last person on earth who should be sat in front of the person who has issues in their life. The assumption also is sometimes that you bring in a sports psychologist or a psychologist and you sit down with that player, if we're talking about a professional sportsman, and often, yes, of course, they're the right person to be sat in front of, but if you have someone who's been in that very same position, both as a professional sportsman and fallen foul of, maybe in this case you talk about society's evil, maybe they are the perfect person to actually sit with that person and sort of, I'm not saying embrace the circumstances in which you find yourself, but people do find themselves in worse positions than that. We're talking about someone who screwed up and it affected their professional career. Hopefully the short term, he's lucky he got banned for 2 weeks, and he immediately could walk back into a situation where he could earn handsomely. I think back in the day, what used to happen was there'd be a QC called Gerard Elias, who the ECB used to, and he basically used to sit there as a QC and ban people for 2 years, so you couldn't earn a penny for 2 years.
I think you got the 2-year ban, didn't you? Although it was the end of your career, so it was almost like a...
I'd already retired. I retired because I knew there were issues in my life, and I knew that if I was still in professional sport, it was only going to make them worse. That's why I wanted to go and live in America, so I could sort myself out the way. And situations arose that shouldn't really have arisen. and before I know it, I was sat in front of a QC who banned me for 22 months. So any sort of possibility where I could earn decent money disappeared straight away. That now, further down the line, hopefully the people who are in charge there should realise that should have been he should have been the last person on earth who should have been sat in front of professional sportsmen, and he made hay whilst the sun shined because he banned loads of people for long periods of time.
Yeah, so that's an area I think well worth exploring in as we chat. I think because Alex Hales certainly. You can also look at cases like Alex Hebborn, Joe Clark, different kind of wayward behaviour, but young men in a team environment are never going to be angels. And it's never right to expect them to be, or to try and sit on the outside and expect there to be this kind of like purity of behaviour in young men who have naturally energy to burn. When you kind of went through those challenges that you had, did you feel that you had enough support and guidance from the club that you represented, or did you feel that they should have given you more? Or do you feel that maybe
when it moved up, because
is better and more
you have to scroll down.
Support.